Your teams, the heart of Texas. Bally Sports Southwest, the heart of the fan.
Once again at Camden Yards tonight, Rangers baseball on Bally Sports Southwest is presented by Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant. It is game 2 of our 4-game series, Rangers and Orioles, and the Rangers in much need of a win on the road. Welcome in, everybody. Great to be with you tonight. I'm Dave Raymond with CJ Nikowski. Second game of the series with Baltimore, a team that has struggled mightily. The Rangers, however, find themselves right now in maybe one of their worst struggles of the year. But tonight, they hope to turn it around with the rookie Spencer Howard back on the hill.
And we continue to get looks at Spencer Howard. Of course, he comes over from the Philadelphia Phillies, and a guy that has been highly touted throughout his career as a prospect. Now with the Rangers, he's getting steady work. They're not using him very deep in games. In his last start against the Chicago White Sox, he was really good, 3 innings. That's all they're asking out of Spencer Howard right now. The rest of the ways he works on some mechanical changes, but he was fantastic against a really good lineup with the White Sox.
All right, and you would think that this lineup would be one that he should be able to manage. We'll find out here momentarily. The other question is, what can the Rangers lineup muster? It's been a little bit of a tough stretch lately. Nathaniel Lowe, he likes hitting in this ballpark. He'll be in the spotlight with Emily when we come back. Baseball on Bally Sports is presented by Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant. Expansion now open. Stakes raised. And Baylor's Scott & White Health, changing healthcare for the better.
Camden Station just outside of Camden Yards as the Rangers get set for game 2 of a 4-game series against the Baltimore Orioles. And the Rangers hoping to have a little more offense on display this evening. And one guy that could be key to that would be one Nathaniel Lowe. And we put him in our Shiner Box spotlight tonight. The numbers trending in the right direction for Nathaniel since August 29th. 291 average in those 23 games with a 394 on-base percentage. And then the numbers in Baltimore are strong to quite strong. 11 games and a 310 average with 10 RBIs, looking to continue that trend tonight in Baltimore as the Rangers look to bounce back from that shutout in the opener, guys.
Well, indeed, I hope you're onto something there, Emily. The Rangers, they could use some help offensively. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Kiner Falefa leading it off at short. Ibanez will be the DH today, batting second. Then it's Adolis Garcia. Lowe, Solak, and Culberson in the middle of the order. Peters in left field, Heim catching, and Leody Taveras in center field rounds it out.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the Orioles starting pitcher tonight. It's the left-hander Alexander Wells. 9 games on the season. This will be his 7th start. 1-3 record. See a very high ERA. 31 and 2/3 innings so far this year. He's given up 8 home runs over that time. He is more of a fly ball pitcher. Just a 26% ground ball rate.
He gets that first one right in there. Strike 1 to Kiner Falefa. And we are underway tonight. Looks like Wells pitches with an up-tempo pace. And this one popped up back of the mound. Martin in from shortstop makes the play. That's out number 1.
Go ahead and take a look at the pitch arsenal for the left-hander Wells and what we have seen from him so far this season, brought to you by TXU Energy. He's got a 4-seam fastball that averages just 90 miles an hour, curveball, slider, and a changeup. He uses the off-speed pitches quite a bit on the first pitch of an at-bat. 61% for him over his last 3 starts. The curveball's been not so great. 455 has been the batting average against that pitch.
Well, there is a curveball, and it's popped up. Foul territory and an easy play for Severino. So 2 quick pop-ups to start the game.
The Orioles on defense tonight. Austin Hayes in left, Cedric Mullins in center, and Ryan McKenna is in right. In their infield, it is Gutierrez, Martin, Pat Vallecca, Ryan Mountcastle over at first base, and their catcher is Pedro Severino.
I don't know, 2 quick pop outs, and now the first pitch in there for a strike to Adolis Garcia. Looks like the Rangers want to be aggressive tonight against Wells. 1-1. Garcia, 30 homers, 83 RBIs, right-handed hitter. And he takes strike 2. Well, this is the big matchup in this series with the two power leaders among rookies. Dolis Garcia smokes this one into left field. That's a base hit. And so the Rangers have a runner in the first inning.
And we see when you get a guy like this, the idea of jumping on first pitch fastballs or fastballs in the strike zone seem pretty important. That's what you get from Garcia. That pitch middle in, and he turns it into a base hit.
Just for future reference, the on switch on that microphone.
What's that, buddy? Yeah, well, so there's these.
I
don't know how long you've been in the business, but they have these really complicated switches. One says on, and then you push it the other way, it says off. And there is a requirement. I'm not sure which. I'm still working on it. But if you want to talk, you got to get on one side of that.
Well, you can talk. It's just no one will get to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hear you.
I thought you switched it to off. Saw you over here earlier. I thought you were messing with my switch.
Trust me, it's the last thing I would do to your microphone. The 1-1 pitch, and it's just off the plate. 2 balls and a strike to Nathaniel Lowe. Alexander Wells, left-hander, 24 years old for Baltimore, and a curveball. That ball hit well, deep out to right field, and it is gone. Nathaniel Lowe with a 2-run homer, and the Rangers jump out tonight 2-0. I think Emily really was onto something in the open of the broadcast.
Just good to see an early lead. A long ball from the Rangers, left on left for Nathaniel Lowe. We know that has been kind of the backstory and what we're keeping an eye on all year long with him. It's a curveball that sits in the middle of the plate. I mentioned the curveball has been a problem for Wells. 455 is the average, OPS over 1,400, and now that is the 4th home run that he has allowed on his curveball this year.
All right, now Nick Solak. Emily, you want to take a bow? I mean,
yeah, I kind of would.
Feeling pretty good right now.
Feeling really great. Feel like I should, I don't know, play the lottery tonight. No, I got to give credit to Mike Dressman. It was his idea to put Nathaniel Lowe in the spotlight.
No, you don't.
Please, let's not.
Okay, I'm just trying. Golly, trying to dish
Late
out
September.
some credit.
Another week or so, you get to pick your own friends.
Let's leave Dressman out of this.
Well, I'm appreciative of any and all crew members who do their best to make my crazy rear end look decent sometimes.
Well, it is always fun, though, when we highlight a guy.
Yeah, remember Jordan Lyles earlier in the season? Like every time I would talk, he'd give up a home run.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It's quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, every once in a while, it's nice to.
Not how you start, and it's how you finish.
You're right. Darn right it is.
Means not off to a good start, and his 2-1 pitch. That one tapped back near the mound, Wells rather. And he'll pick it up, throw over to first, and he gets Solak, and the inning is done. Another hat tip to Mike Dressman. Go to the bottom of the first inning. Stephen Howard coming on.
A great start to this one for the Rangers, and Nathaniel Lowe, the Rangers want to see him pull the ball in the air. He does in a big way, and he puts them up on top 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the first.
All right, well, the Rangers with a good start in the top of the first inning. Out front 2-0 on the Lowe homer, and now the Orioles come to work. 49 wins, 104 losses. They are 45 out in the East. It'll be Mullins, Mountcastle, and Hayes at the top of the order. Trey Mancini, the DH, Severino catching, and McKenna in right. Bottom of the order has Valleca, Martin, and third baseman Kelvin Gutierrez.
Spencer Howard, 18th game of the season, 14th start. You can see those overall numbers for him, but he has not pitched deep in games. That has been with intention for him so far this year. And with the Rangers now, this will be his 7th start. All starts here with the Rangers. With the Philadelphia Phillies, he did a little bit of back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation.
Moves that one for a strike to Mullins, 1-1. So he gets a little run support right out of the chute tonight. It's got to be a bit of a new feeling for Spencer, and just a bit high. Howard has received no run support at all in 4 straight, and now 6 of his last 7 starts prior to tonight. So to get 2 runs before he ever took the mound is quite the unusual feeling, and that one right in there. It's 2-2.
A combination of 2 things there, right? We know the Ranger offense has struggled a little bit. The other part of it, for his run support, we calculate that when he's in the game, and he hasn't thrown more than 3 innings as a member of the Rangers. Some of those games you were talking about were 2 innings, one of them an inning and a third.
Ground ball, right side of the infield. Solak right there. And he throws out Mullins. 1 gone here with the first.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the TXU Energy pitch arsenal for Spencer Howard. It runs pretty deep. You got a 4-seam fastball, changeup, cutter, the curveball in there as well for him, slider, 2-seam fastball. All of them he uses a pretty decent amount, but there's a lot of reliance, as you can see by that chart, on the 4-seam fastball. He threw 57 pitches, by the way, in his last start against the White Sox. That is the most that we have seen from him in a Ranger uniform.
Well, he gets his first out of the night, and now Ryan Mountcastle swings and misses in strike 1. Mountcastle with 31 home runs now. He leads all major league rookies. Pulled ahead of Adolis Garcia last night, and he flips this one out into center field. That's a base hit.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the defense tonight for the Texas Rangers, delivered to you by New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau. DJ Peters, Leody Taveras, and Adolis Garcia are in the outfield tonight. In the infield, on the corners, Charlie Culberson and Nathaniel Lowe. Up the middle, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Nick Solak. And the catcher tonight is Jonah Heim.
All right, so a man on for Austin Hayes. Howard, keep an eye on Mountcastle over at first, although figure's not real likely to be taking off. And Hayes pops this one up foul and out of play. .257 average for Hayes. 22 home runs. Quietly had a very good year for Baltimore. A Baltimore team that has lost 104 games. So I suppose just about anything anybody does for Baltimore this year is destined to be somewhat quieter than somebody who does something for a team a little more in the limelight. Breaking ball misses. It's 1-1.
You know, prior to the 2018 season, Austin Hayes, with a couple of the publications that rank prospects, had him right around 20, 21 in all of baseball. And then he didn't show up on the list after that. Now, he had a little bit of time in 2017 in the big leagues, none in 18. So he took a little bit of a step back, but it does look like now here a few years later, he's starting to put it together.
Quick turn and a toss over to first. Keep Mountcastle close. Spencer Howard, 25 years old. Working on 5 days rest tonight. It's a little bit extra time. We'll see. Maybe he can go a little deeper tonight. 1-1 pitch. And this one popped up. First base side, foul ground, low. Might have room. He does. 2 away. So that'll bring up Trey Mancini. Mancini was hitless last night. The second half is seeing his numbers tail off quite a little bit. Had a really good first half of the season. And he takes right down the middle for a strike. Good fastball there. 94 miles per hour from Howard. Still overall very good year for Mancini with the 21 homers. It's off the plate, 1-1. Mancini, and this is going to be true for a lot of guys, it's a lot better in this ballpark. 288 average at home versus 221 on the road. Second biggest differential in all of the American League. 67 points higher at home. And he bounces this one slowly to shortstop. Kiner Falefa makes the throw in time. The inning is done. So the Orioles leave a man. We will go to the second inning tonight with the Rangers on top 2-0. Rangers baseball on Bally Sports is presented by Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant. Expansion now open. Stakes raised. Good start for the Rangers, up 2-0 as that first pitch to Charlie Culberson hits the outside corner for a strike. This guy Wells, he likes to just flat out get after it. He was waiting out on the mound before the game started, just waiting for our umpiring crew, Chris Conroy, our crew chief, back behind the plate today, just to get the go-ahead to start the game. He was prepared well in advance of the actual game time that was set on the schedule. As Culberson grounds out to short.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I wonder too, Dave, for these guys, like he's a guy first time in the big leagues this year. As we take a look at some of the OPS for the Rangers against left-handed off-speed pitches is what you're going to see quite a bit tonight. They come in with the lowest in baseball. Now that changes a little bit with the Nathaniel Lowe home run on the curveball, but it's been a problem for the Rangers when you look at their ability to get on base and to slug against left-handed off-speed pitches this year. What I was going to say about a guy like Wells, first time in the big leagues, I wonder how many of these guys that are coming through some of the pitch clock stuff in the minors, they just kind of work a little bit quicker.
It's Peters to fly out to left field on the first pitch of the at bat, and very quickly he has two retired here in the second.
Which for me, and I wonder, like I said, you jump on fastballs when you have a lefty like this because he's not overpowering, and there have been some struggles against left-handed off-speed pitches. But we have seen some Rangers go hacking at breaking balls early too.
Well, they look like they, just generally speaking here, have been geared up to swing at that first pitch. Almost all of them, at least very eager to get after Wells. That one is up and out for a ball. Heim, switch hitter at the right side. 190 average for Jonah with 9 home runs. And a curveball that hits the corner, 1-1. Pouncer, left side of the infield. Routine play for Richie Martin. How about a 7-pitch half inning for the Aussie, Alexander Wells? We played an inning and a half. It's 2-0 Rangers. Rangers out front 2-0 as we go to the second inning tonight. And let's take a look at our T-Mobile coverage cam. Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Last night had better than 6,000 on hand on a Thursday night. Friday night on the Inner Harbor. And well, they're fairly similar looking crowd. How it looks things here early on.
It seems like kind of ideal weather. We're getting that here a little bit in Arlington. You could have wore a sweatshirt this morning. At least early when I was taking my 5 a.m. walk. It was pretty brisk out.
We're getting there. Well, Brandon Hyde, the manager of the Orioles, happy about their win last night. It was their 49th of the year. The Orioles still a little better than a week to get to that 50 plateau. They've already exceeded 100 losses for the season. And now Spencer Howard will go to work against Pedro Severino, leading things off here for Baltimore. And Howard, he hasn't been too tricky here early on. A lot of fastballs early, a lot of them right down the heart of the plate. 1 strike pitch, and that one a little bit wide. 1-1.
Was not afraid to use the fastball. I mentioned that coming into this one so far this season, 64% usage on the four-seamer. Doesn't use the two-seamer very often, but another 3% on that pitch. So essentially 2 out of every 3 this season have been a fastball. It doesn't include the cutter. And sometimes when you look at certain websites and things and you talk about fastballs and just try to categorize them all together, they'll include the cutter in with the fastball. That brings him up to another 10% on top of the 66. You're about 76% of his pitches are fastballs or cutters.
Getting into Lance Lynn territory with those kinds of numbers. 3 balls and a strike on Severino, a .239 hitter with 10 home runs. The 3-1 pitch. And that one lifted in the air, foul over to the right side, out of play. So Emily got cooking.
Well, Chris Woodward said he feels like he's seeing some encouraging things from Spencer Howard. Said in that last start against the White Sox, looked free. His delivery was good. Command was a lot better. And, when you talk to these guys, whether it be Doug Mathis or Sags or Woody, it's so much more about the, the mental things that are happening, because a lot of these guys that they just kind of got a hold of, they're not going to try to reshape pitches and all that kind of stuff mid-season. That'll wait for the offseason.
Base hit here by Severino into left. Orioles have a man on in the second.
There's a balance in there somewhere. I remember them saying that when he first got here, right? They wanted to watch him a little bit, throw a couple of things at him, but not overwhelm him. This looked like a spinning cutter right here. Didn't do as much as they wanted, and he wanted it away. Severino puts a good swing on it.
And let me ask you something, CJ.
Please.
What does it mean to reshape a pitch?
Well, and that's been interesting because it's been a bigger part of the conversation now, but essentially the shape of the break.
Okay.
Right. So if you look at them and they'll look up, can tell you what the exact access is, and we would use kind of general phrases like 12 to 6. They can get a lot more precise than that. We'd say that as a general term. Think about a clock and a curveball and saying, well, if the curveball's going straight down, that's a 12 to 6 curveball, and maybe you get off to the side and yours is more of a 11 to 5. Like we would use the clock,
right,
and it would be somewhat arbitrary because you're kind of guessing based on what you're seeing. Now they can measure it, and it's so much more precise. And so they might be talking about moving a pitch just a couple of degrees one way or the other, and how much more effective it actually becomes by doing that. So reshaping it and changing that shape on the pitch and how it looks to the hitter and how it could be more effective is a big part of that science now.
Yeah, and I think that what they were saying in that regard, glad to know that, by the way, the terminology, but that you don't, like you said, they don't want to overwhelm them with stuff, but they do see things they feel like they can implement, but they don't necessarily want to do those mid-season.
It's tough to do, and there's a lot going on. You put on a new uniform, you want to impress everybody. Obviously he seemed very happy to be here when that first press conference, then we had that opportunity to talk with him, and so you kind of want to do a little bit of your thing, and then they want to be able to see it in person. They look at they look at video and things all day long, but they want to let him do what he normally does and then kind of adjust from there. As you see a really good looking 12 to 6 breaking ball, if I might, Emily. It's a pretty good shape right there on that breaker.
Yeah, that was very nice. His first strikeout of the night. And now Pat Valleca, second baseman. Well, part of the challenge, though, for Howard too has been that they have tried to clean up the delivery a little bit, stabilize some things that he was doing mechanically. There's a swing and a miss by Valleca is strike one.
Yeah, first things first, right? I think I like if you're going to go in order of what you want to do, and if there's some things that you want to change with a pitcher, mechanics first, then see how that's affected his pitches,
right,
and what the data looks like, then go ahead and attack the pitches next. And you don't want to do it all at once, and you don't want to overwhelm a guy who, again, is trying to make some kind of impression on his new team.
This one poked right over first into right field. That's a base hit for Valleca. Severino looking over his shoulder as he jogs to third. The Orioles have him on the corners with one out.
It's a good pitch from Spencer Howard. Just some bad luck. 94 miles an hour on this fastball, and it looked like it had a little bit of cut to it. In really good location. I mean, not going to do much better than that, and it's off the very end of the bat, not hit hard at all, but just enough for a blue base hit.
There's one of those situations where if he was swinging a 33.5 inch, he might not have gotten that if in fact his bat was like 33 3/4, and he did. We saw that last week. That was the weirdest thing we ran into last week. Was it Isaiah?
Willie.
Willie Calhoun, yeah, who goes like in 1/4 inch increments on the length of the bat. But that was literally like the last quarter of that bat, quarter-inch of that bat to get that one for Vallejo. 1-0 to Richie Martin, Orioles shortstop. Martin, a .250 hitter with just the one home run. Rangers at double play depth up the middle. And he lifts this one out of play to the right side.
So Martin has hit the ground on the ball a pretty decent amount, 53% of the time, almost 10% above league average. But he's only hit into one ground ball double play this year. Not a lot of at bats for him. 86 plate appearances coming into tonight. It would be ideal here.
Howard's induced 2 ground balls early on. This one on the ground, right side. That could be 2. Quick flip to Isaiah for 1 on to first, and apparently not in time. Martin legs it out. It gets Severino to the plate, and the Orioles have their first run of the evening.
Now perhaps hit just a little bit too slow to turn this double play. Now couldn't tell if Isaiah either double clutch or held on a little bit. The throw ended up being a little bit low. I'm not sure would have made much of a difference. Let's take a look here. Now it's a good exchange. Yeah, the throw was actually in the dirt. If it got in there in the air, would it have mattered? Maybe. Probably not, though. And Spencer Howard still waiting for that first double play to get turned behind him as a Ranger. He does have 3 on the year, all with the Phillies.
So 1 run is in. Martin will be the base runner. Now 9th place hitter Calvin Gutierrez. And a fastball in there, strike 1. Rangers with a 1-run lead. Gutierrez working. Well, he's hit safely now in 6 of 7. I saw him last night. Gutierrez was batting 8th, and he got a double in his final at bat to finish 1 for 3 for the night. Martin with a decent lead, but he's not going anywhere. And it's 1-1. It's like Gutierrez. You know, we talk about all sorts of different ways that guys go about doing their business, but it's like he's got a lean way back as he stands in right before the pitch. And almost all his weight's on his back foot. Maybe it's just the angle at which we see it.
I think it's fair to say a little bit like Lorenzo Cain. Lorenzo Cain, probably one of the more popular hitters that does have kind of that lean back look to his swing. And we hear a lot about, hitting the ball forward and getting through the baseball, and all that is important. But you're going to get some guys that hit off their front foot. We saw with a guy like Stanton that kind of scissor kick approach where the back foot kind of kicks out. You're going to get some guys that really lean on that back foot and push off, in this case, the right leg. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Bryce Harper's a good example of a guy. You'll see that back foot come in the air as he's making contact, but the foot is kind of pointed straight down.
Howard paying some attention to Martin over at first, and he is going, and the pitch is smacked foul. That was one of the better fastballs so far tonight from Howard, too, at 96.
And actually interesting there, watching that swing with Gutierrez, the back foot does kick out a little bit. Not nearly as extreme as Stanton or a guy like Jose Altuve. If he takes another hack, keep an eye on that back leg, and you'll see that go toward the Ranger dugout on the third base side just a little bit. But I'm with you. Still seems like he has a lot of that weight maybe shifted more back than middle or forward.
Howard with a longer hold, runner not going this time with the 1-2 pitch. That's poked right through the right side. Martin stops at second. Gutierrez with the 3rd hit of the inning for Baltimore.
pretty good two-strike approach from Gutierrez, even though he takes some big swings. For a guy with a low batting average, you don't anticipate that he would use the entire field. Pretty good pitch. Looks like that's about where Jonah Heim wanted that fastball, but you see him there, and it's a good point. You can see him kind of still on that back leg a little bit more. And we see guys that hit off the front foot.
So a couple of base runners now, and Cedric Mullins, dangerous hitter, steps in. Mullins grounded out on the first. And Howard delivers a curveball, fouled away. Mullins, he might be one of the better rounded offensive weapons in the American League. We were talking earlier about guys, maybe having good seasons kind of quietly in Baltimore. Cedric Mullins put him at the top of that list. 29 home runs. He's a .300 hitter. He's 30 stolen bases. And then that note there at the bottom of the screen, 305 total bases. That's fourth most in Major League Baseball. It's a huge year. Very high, 1-1.
He's done a good job against right-handed pitching this year too, hitting .310. There's really not a pitch in the arsenal when you go up and down the line that he has struggled against. But as you mentioned, the note there, third player in Orioles history to go 25 and 25. How about the names? Don Baylor and Reggie Jackson. That's amazing, and they did it in back-to-back years.
Back in the late
1900s. Beat me to it.
In the air, center field. Back goes Taveras near the wall. He leaps, and that is gone. Just got over Leo's glove. A 3-run shot for Mullins, his 30th of the year. And now he is in a category by himself in Orioles history, the only 30-30 in franchise history.
Kind of a tough break there for Spencer Howard, as you see the congratulations for Cedric Mullins and the great season that he has had. But now some history, as you mentioned, Dave. First guy to do it in an Orioles uniform to go 30 and 30. It has been an unbelievably breakout season and a strong one for Mullins. And I was looking at those pitches and mentioned he's really been good on just about everything against righties this year. Well, that was a cutter. He was batting .563 against cutters, just crushing them.
Well, curtain call for Cedric Mullins. We haven't seen many of those this year. Well deserved. 30th home run of the year to go with 30 stolen bases. And of more immediate concern is the fact that now Baltimore has the 2-run lead. It's 4-2.
Let's go ahead and take a look at this pitch. As I mentioned, the cutter, you can see kind of the off-centered grip, a little bit of depth to it as Jonah Heim reaches back over the plate. They were trying to throw that cutter back door, and it was a great effort by Taveras. He just ran out of room. I imagine that's not a home run in too many ballparks.
Measured .397.
4 ballparks apparently. That's a home run in. Yeah. The Angels, obviously Baltimore, Progressive Field in Cleveland, and T-Mobile Park in Seattle. That's it.
Foul ball makes it count 1-2 on Mountcastle. Leote almost got this one too. Mountcastle singled in the first inning, the 1-2 pitch, and he fights that one off. Mullins got his little piece of history. Mountcastle, he's working on some as well for the Orioles. He still leads the team in home runs with 31. He's making a pretty strong bid for American League Rookie of the Year, the 1-2 pitch. Low.
So I did not realize this. I just saw this, that Cedric Mullins was a switch hitter before this year.
Oh,
Did you know that?
no. And he's just.
He was a switch hitter prior to 2021, according to Baseball Reference. I was unaware of that. He only had parts of 3 seasons in the big leagues. Didn't get very many opportunities, and it wasn't going all that well. And now he's been great.
Boy, well, that was easy. Just give up the right-handed hitting, and next thing you know, you're a superstar.
And he's been fine against lefties for a guy who was a former switch hitter, 284 this year.
Foul and out of play. How about our Choctaw marquee matchup today? Mountcastle at the plate at the moment doing battle. 31 home runs. That leads Major League rookies. Right behind him is our own Adolis Garcia with 30. And those two of the very top candidates for Rookie of the Year honors. And there's a swing and a miss. Mountcastle strikes out. So the inning is done. A 4-run inning, though, for Baltimore. And they suddenly have the 2-run lead. It's 4-2. Cedric Mullins out on his own to soak up some adulation after his big home run. A 30-30 season for the Orioles center fielder. And there come the rest of the guys. 4-2. Baltimore on top.
I like the Cal Ripken treatment a little bit, right?
Close. No. Said it'd stop the game and have him do a lap, but
I'm trying to think. Didn't they do that with Ichiro? His final game was it in Japan, right? Remember the Mariners played a regular season game to start of the year, and that was it for him. The very beginning of the year, I think he took his position by himself. They did that with A-Rod in New York.
What they did?
Yeah. Well, basically, if you remember, they were going to release him, but they did it a little bit nicer. They said, they kind of came to an agreement and shut it down and made it official that it was going to be his last game.
Wow, I did not remember that, and I would have never expected that.
Oh, I remembered only because I was working it for FS1 at the time. And yeah, did a whole show on it. And he actually, when he took the field, it was like the 4th or 5th inning, maybe 5th inning to make it official or whatever it was. He jokingly, it's not a great joke, started going toward short and then made his way over to third.
That's a good one. Tavares fouls that one straight back. This is back to 1995. You bring it up. And this was Cal Ripken Jr. Game number 2,131. And once they got 5 innings in and it was an official ball game, everybody wanted to take a picture, all that stuff, and then it just that break lasted a long time. Ended up going around. It was great though. It felt authentic.
It definitely was. And they had great crowds here for a long time in Baltimore. It was a great place to visit. It's still a great place to go because the ballpark is in fantastic shape. But you talk about at that point what the ballpark was in its 3rd or 4th year. Was it 1992, I believe, 91 that it opened? I think it was 92.
Gosh.
So 3 years in, 4 years in. And the crowds there, incredible. Obviously, that was a good team in a huge moment.
Remember where you were when that?
I do. I was in Toronto in a hotel playing for the Detroit Tigers, watching it on TV. We had the day off.
Pop up out into short right field, and Tavares a race to strike the 3rd inning. So Counter Falefa coming up. How about our Coors Light beating the pressure? Isaiah, where does he rank among these Rangers in the month of September? Well, first in average hits, on base, and OPS. He has been the offense such that it is. He takes high here, ball 1.
Do you remember where you were, Dave? Calling minor league games somewhere, I bet?
Our season had just ended.
Oh.
But yeah, I was in Northern California, and I remember the owner of the minor league team had me come over to his house for dinner, and we watched it there. And it was really cool because I wasn't sure, how much the owner of the team really cared about baseball. He was an old IBM guy, retired, took a big retirement package from IBM. He and his wife bought a minor league team and were running it, but I never got the sense that he was a hardcore baseball guy. But I was impressed because he seemed to get it. You know, he understood what it was all about. And to be honest with you, I really wanted to kind of go watch it myself or with some friends. But you know, you're not going to turn down the owner of the team. And I ended up now. It's kind of a real kind of a sweet memory.
Yeah,
those days. So yeah.
When you think about for us at least, kind of in our generation of fans, how many moments in the game that we really remember, no matter who you are, even if you had no attachment to the Baltimore Orioles,
right?
Where were you? Right? It's one thing when you're like, hey, where were you when the Rangers clinched? Those things you remember maybe as a Ranger fan. But for everybody in baseball to remember where they were for a moment, it's strange that one comes up, but it's somewhat common for those that were baseball fans at the time. I know we get it a little bit with 9/11 as we went through the 20th anniversary of that, but that wasn't a baseball game. There's a baseball attachment there to some degree. But will there be another moment in our game? Can you think of another one?
Well, I can. Right off
Kirk Gibson.
Kirk Gibson, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the greatest moments in our.
Yeah, for me, that was it. That's
the
most distinct memory of my baseball childhood.
Are we going to get another one?
I've got another one. Yeah, the 1999 All-Star game.
All right, you guys aren't listening to me. Are we going to get another one?
So see, you had. I got the name.
David,
Anyway, Emily,
okay.
I'm enjoying our conversation.
I thought we were reminiscing. It was a beautiful thing.
Can you think of another one that might happen that this next generation will be like, oh yeah, I remember where I was when.
Well, we don't know what's going to
Albert
happen in the
Pujols hit his
future.
That's my question.
Okay, so
I'm looking for your
All right, now-
imaginations here a
okay.
little bit, like Albert Pujols number 700, something like that.
Okay.
Is there something that you could see happening in the game from today going forward that we'll all remember where we were?
This is way
Am I
harder
clear
than
now?
just reminiscing.
Yes, of course we will.
Clear as mud?
Yeah.
No, I totally see what you're saying. It's just it's a lot easier just to talk about old stuff from the late 1900s.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that would be one if he gets there.
And
Where
even
is he?
then, it's not the record, right? That's the problem.
Right. Which is kind of funny because if we have your permission to reminisce again,
Go ahead. I'll allow it.
The Bonds records,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
No, I don't
resonates
remember where I
anywhere
was.
near the same way.
No, I don't think so.
Or we could check in with the pre and post game crew and
Yeah.
see if Mike Bassick
Oh, it's true.
has any memory. But
I bet he's got some.
but anyway, yeah. I mean, that one just didn't quite hit home the same way.
Yeah.
But I think there'll be more for sure.
I don't know that they will necessarily be record-breaking moments, but I think there will be signature moments like the Kirk Gibson, like you know, that will stand out and resonate with baseball fans across the board, not just those rooting for a specific team.
Because, yes, and to that exact point, the Dyersville, Iowa game this year. Anybody who watched that game will remember that night.
Yeah.
You just will. You'll remember that night because it hits you in that place. You know, it just got you.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're in Seattle. Did it hit you?
I think it probably
Maybe,
did
because of the movie. But there wasn't a defining moment. I know some home runs later. It was an exciting game. But something that will flash back and look at a highlight of a specific achievement in the game, I guess, is
Those dudes walking out of the cornfields. That's what people are gonna remember.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I kind of forgot about it already.
The cornfields?
I mean, I remember it, but I'm not like, oh man, I can't wait to see that again in 20 years. I think it has to be the tie-in of the history too, right? It's probably part of it, and how long it was. We knew that was a record that was not going to get broken again, as far as Cal Ripken and Lou Gehrig and everything else.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why.
I'll tell you one that could, something Ohtani related.
Yeah.
Could definitely happen here in the next couple of years, right? I don't know what that is. A perfect game where he hits 2 bombs or something. There's something crazy he may get done. Strike out of Ibanez, 2 away. But yeah, so if you're talking like a record.
Baseball records are so hard to break now, though,
Yeah.
because the game is so very different than what it was. I mean, you think anybody's going to sniff 5,000 strikeouts?
No chance.
No.
No.
I mean,
home run
the
record is
records
safe.
now are
Right.
just completely jacked up anyway. All the single season records are messed up. I mean, it's going to be difficult.
It won't have the impact, but I would still love to see somebody hit 61 or 62. Because the only guys that have done it that are non-PED guys are Roger Maris and Babe Ruth. That's it. With all that's been going on with the home runs, we still haven't seen a 60 home run season from a non-PED guy, which is kind of amazing.
Ground ball third. They'll go the short way to get Kiner Falefa. You know, there's a reason. It's kind of hard to do. 2.5 innings in the books here tonight. I'll never forget where I was for this conversation. It's 4-2.
Time for a Chevy Game Break. I'm John Radigan. Earlier today, game one of a doubleheader. Cardinals at Wrigley Field. Paul Goldschmidt, 30th home run of the season. Tyler O'Neill gets his 30th. Cardinals win their 13th straight, and there may be some Cardinals fans who remember exactly where they were when they achieved the longest streak since 1935, guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. 13-game winning streak right now. We joked last night about, hey, what are they going to win the division? No, they're not going to win the division. But then again, check yourself. I mean, they just keep winning. How about that? 3 players with 30-plus home runs. Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, Goldschmidt. It's a heck of a run they're on. And you'll love to be playing that kind of baseball this time of year. Man.
Probably no chance, as you mentioned, to win the division. And really, it's about the second wild card. They don't even have a chance to get that first wild card. It's going to the Giants or the Dodgers. It's wild that they're playing this well. What it's doing is it's killing the other teams that thought they had a chance. Like the Philadelphia Phillies and other teams that were involved in and thought, hey, can we get this second wild card? Because it was a couple of weeks ago that the Cardinals were not even considered to be a realistic threat. They were quite a few spots back.
This one hit sharply on the ground by Austin Hayes, and he has a base hit to start the third. Let's hear from Jack in the Box.
Try my bigger, crispier new cluck sandwich combo for $5.99. Download the Jack app today.
I'll tell you the other team that certainly the Cardinals have their attention right now are the Dodgers and the Giants. I mean, you really want to win 100+ games, not win your division, and then have to go play St. Louis in the wild card game?
Maybe. I mean, that would be unbelievable, and I think it'd start that conversation about what we do with our postseason and should we reconsider how we do it. The only thing with that, I'd say, for the Cardinals, as good as they've been playing, like Adam Wainwright's been great. We're getting Jack Flaherty back. He threw today. We'll throw in the second game today. Only be probably an inning or two. But they don't really have a true ace that you would feel comfortable going up against. Max Scherzer, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. So on paper, it wouldn't be a great matchup, but like you said, they're red hot.
No balls, 2 strikes to Trey Mancini. Mancini grounded out in the first inning.
By the way, it's the 30th season for Camden Yards. It did open up in 1992.
A few ballparks have aged as well as Camden Yards.
I'd say the one that sticks out to me in that conversation, not as nice, but Kansas City. Kauffman Stadium's upkeep. They could write a book on how to make sure that your stadium still remains relevant all those years and just never looks like it's run down. They've made little renovations over the years to keep it beautiful. It's not the best stadium, but it's probably one of the best kept.
This one lined down the right field side, foul. Stays 1 and 2. A shot coming back from one of the breaks a little bit ago, and we didn't get a chance to really even acknowledge it, but the building was a Babe Ruth museum. It was where he was born. He lived briefly right here in Baltimore, and it's a wonderful little museum. 1-2 pitch, a swing and a miss. Strike 3. Mancini retired, 1 away.
This is a really good looking breaking ball. We've seen a couple of these tonight from Spencer Howard. As much as we talked about the fastball, if he can get consistency with that pitch right there to play off of his 4-seam fastball, that's a great combination.
One out. Hayes still at first, and here is Severino, who started the 4-run rally last inning with a base hit to left. Anyway, it's a real cool museum they have here. There's a lot of fun baseball history in Baltimore that mostly tied into Babe Ruth. But in left field, left center field of this ballpark, right behind Kiner Falefa, where that little label is with his name, that is where Babe's dad had a tavern. That tavern was located right there in left center. And for many years, when Babe was even just a little boy, he'd be running around that tavern.
Oh, they're going to say he was bellying up to the bar.
Well, he might have been too.
In middle school.
It's crazy. A lot of fascinating history. And that's one of the things they've done so well in Baltimore. I think one of the reasons why this ballpark works well. You know, it's built into the Inner Harbor area. There's a lot of commercial activity around. There's some residential areas not far off. And then you have the ties to Ruth that are literally right there inside the ballpark. The ghost of Babe Ruth and his dad and whatnot just kind of hover around the outfield.
I love the warehouse in right field too, the way that plays into the stadium. You think about what most stadiums look like in right field. You're getting seats, you're getting an upper deck. In there, you just get basically the bleachers that are just beyond the wall there. And then it's that warehouse. It's just really one of the cool features. I know the Padres, they kind of work their warehouse into their ballpark, but it's not nearly as massive as the view you get when you're sitting in Baltimore. And that walk, when you come in the back way for us, like to go to the clubhouse, got to go down underneath, and the ceilings are really low. It's pretty neat.
Big old brick warehouse on Utah Street.
Do you know what that was originally?
Well, I think this was a big train depot, and it was probably a loading and unloading sort of facility of some kind. I mean, I don't know exactly. I believe that's sort of where that all came from. 3-1 pitch, and that ball pretty well struck center field. Taveras going back deep part of the yard. He leaps, and he got it! Brings back a home run. He'll throw it all the way back to first, but Hayes, a good read, able to get back in time, but a great defensive play by Leody Taveras.
And a little casual for such an amazing play that Taveras just made out here. You're going to see him off the bat, get a good jump. This is a good ballpark to do this with the low walls, but the timing is right. He looks, he checks himself, leaps, and makes a great catch. Well, you love seeing the Baltimore reliever come over there to try to get the ball and realize, nope, Taveras has got it.
Severino just missed his 11th home run of the year. You understand his reaction for sure. Well, that's a big play. Keeps it a 2-run game as Ryan McKenna steps in. And first pitch is outside, throw down to second, and I think they got him. They did. Hayes gunned down for the final out of the inning.
Some nice defense here by the Rangers. Leody Taveras has been great in center field all year, but showing off the ups and pulling one back, saving the Rangers a couple of runs. Go ahead and get to some StatCast powered by Google Cloud. We're talking about Camden Yards. How about the longest home runs in the StatCast era? We'll take you back to 2015. Carlos Correa sitting at the top. Look at that red one. 474 feet. That one cleared the bullpen. There we go. Check it out the rest of the way. Over the visitors' bullpen there. The stacked bullpens in left center. But some pretty big ones in this ballpark. I'm trying to think. Obviously, we only go to 2015 with StatCast. I'm trying to remember if anybody's ever gone in the third deck there.
I don't think so. On left
a couple
field?
were close on the StatCast, but again, that's only the last 6 seasons. I'm thinking a guy or two in the PED era went up there.
Boy, that's a pretty serious poke. Low hits this one over second. That's a base hit, and Nathaniel having a good night tonight. 2-run homer in the first, leadoff single here in the fourth. bring up Nick Solak.
Good to see another good at-bat against the left-handed pitcher for Nathaniel Lowe. He had told us at the beginning of the season that the numbers weren't quite there for him, but he also said getting the left-handed at-bats help him against the right-handed pitchers. And so to see him cash it in a little bit is a big part of the story. It's been good tonight.
Guys, I've got a moment I think we're all going to remember.
Okay.
Former Ranger Kyle Gibson just homered for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember that. That's amazing. And I'm extremely happy for him.
No, it's not up there?
Unmoved. I'm really
unmoved. Wow.
Will I remember that I was here?
No.
Wow, I thought I was bringing some quality content to the broadcast and then just got completely shut down. So
No, I'm super happy for him, right? A guy who's been in the American League his entire career gets traded to the Phillies. We're probably going to see the universal DH. I know it makes Dave sad every time I say it, but assuming that's going to be the case, he got his homer.
Yeah, I feel like
That's
it's a little bit like ex-girlfriend that broke up with you guys. You don't want to talk about her anymore. Like, am I bringing up some bad memories? Like, what's happening here?
Still pretty raw.
He did say
He
nice
is such
things.
a great guy, though.
Such
Nice
a
things
great
on his way
guy.
out. I mean, as nice of a breakup as you could possibly have.
Very amicable. Very amicable.
Not you, it's me. Well, actually, it was none of our decisions, but I'm leaving anyway.
Just want to be friends, and that's when we're like, legitimately, I do. I want to be friends. I really do.
No one ever does.
Well, that's cool, though. I mean, although any deeds, do we know? Like, was it a bomb?
I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter.
Oh, so it's probably true.
Thought I'd pass it along.
Not only that, but it's 1-0.
Oh yeah, it's a big one.
See? I'll tell you another moment. We'll remember when it happens. It's the first game where we actually get to be back on the road again.
You were going to be on your knees crying.
I mean, Dave.
Oh, well.
So Kyle Gibson turned around an 89-mile-an-hour fastball hit at 380 feet. A couple rows deep. Smiling early on around the bases. Surprising because he's such a pro. And it's a close game, and he closed that smile up pretty quick.
Dugout going nuts, of course.
Bullpen going nuts.
That's pretty sweet. And I do kind of often forget your point is a bouncer third base. They'll go to second on to first, not in time. Culberson beats it out. And so the Rangers have him on the corners with 1 out. I forget all the time, though, that this whole CBA business this offseason might spell the end of pitchers hitting.
That's why I like to remind you. This looked like there might have been a double play chance, but not enough time. Slow turn there at second by Valleca, and Culberson just barely beats it out. Can't tell if they're trying to stall a little bit, thinking about challenging that. No.
Well, I feel like with that Charlie Culberson base hit, it's a good time to bring up the fact that he and Brock Holt's name have been brought up a couple of times this week, just from younger guys, from Woody about what kind of leadership those guys provide, and I think that's something we focus so much on the young guys on this roster, and kind of forget that the work that Charlie and Brock are doing in that clubhouse is pretty significant with these young players.
I think the thing that is all the questions you can have about getting through a full season, which a lot of these young guys are working through right now. I think how to be a professional is really important, and that's changed. It does change over time, what's expected of you and behaviors and those kinds of things, and you also have done it on a winning ball clubs. I'm thinking about Brock Holt, of course, with the Boston Red Sox. Charlie's been on a couple of different clubs, like in Atlanta and Los Angeles. And sometimes it's a conversation, sometimes it's just the example you set by the way that you act. And because they have the respect of that clubhouse, you can just kind of watch those guys and pick up on how you should act as a big leaguer.
2 on Peters. Even the fact that they are not playing that much right now, right? Neither of them getting a whole lot of opportunity as the Rangers continue to look more at guys like Andy Ibanez, Yanni Hernandez et al. And so how do those guys handle themselves on it? Like, what kind of work do they put in, even though they're not in the lineup that day? What time are they getting to the ballpark? All those little things, right? Those are little context clues that guys don't necessarily know until they see it.
How you treat coaches, how you treat staff, really important. Those little lessons that come along.
And I think it's a part of the lesson that this young team is learning is that it's like you don't just know that, right? Your first season, it's not just innate, and it's something that you have to develop, and it's something you have to be conditioned to do, especially over the course of a 162-game season. And it's like Nick Solak said today, I had to realize, and I had to go through this whole process to realize this is part of my story. This is also part of most players' stories where they come up, they struggle. You got to figure out how to work yourself out of it. You've got to figure out how to, to keep some sort of consistency, even though it may not be in the numbers. You have to keep that consistency with your approach, with your work ethic, with your mental state, with how you approach the game. So, and to guys like that who are, professionals and know how to do that season in and season out, it's a huge thing for those guys to see.
When you're struggling, you feel like you're the only person struggling, and you feel like you're terrible, and it very easily can weigh you down. And so guys like Charlie and Brock and others sharing stories about their low times are also hugely helpful. Those opportunities come up. Let me tell you about these 2 months where I had one hit, whatever it may be.
Flare out to center field. That's a base hit. Culberson scrambles back to second base, but Peters drives in a run. Makes it a one-run game, 4-3.
Nice job here by DJ Peters. He saw a fastball earlier in this at bat at 88 that locked him up. That was well located in. He was ready for this one. Just enough of the barrel, not all of it, for a soft fly drive to center. Watch Culberson. He took a big turn. I thought Mullins was going to throw behind him. He might have had a play.
All right, now a little conference out of the mound. Jonah Heim awaits his turn. So Rangers have that tying run in scoring position again. Looks like we could have a little back and forth affair today. Connor Green already loosening in the Orioles bullpen.
Talk about inexperience. You mentioned that Rangers roster. 6 of the 15 pitchers that are on the Orioles are in the big leagues for the first time this year. 10 of them have 44 days in the big leagues or less coming into the year. 10 of their 15. They only have 2 with more than 2 years of service time. John Means and 1 reliever. Abad's got 6+. Everyone else is significantly under 2 years. They have a lot of young players here.
You look at the average age of the rosters, and they're 2 of the youngest in the game. Only the Indians and Marlins younger than the Rangers, and then the Orioles 4th youngest.
I bet their pitching staff from a service time standpoint has to be one of the lowest in the game. Again, when you have 6 guys with 0 time right now.
Bouncer left side of the infield. They'll go to second for the 1 out. Heim is nipped at the end for the double play. 5-4-3 twin killing. Rangers get a run back though. We'll go to the last of the 4th inning in a 1-run game. On Bally Sports is brought to you by Frontier Fiber Optic Gig Service Internet. The fastest way to surf, shop, and game. And by Nissan. 4-3, Baltimore with the lead. You take that road right there, go against traffic, and then you're down by all those seafood restaurants down in the Inner Harbor. That's how I remember it way back in the day. Sorry.
The year?
Try and pull it
1997.
Bottom of the 4th inning here. And Spencer Howard, a scoreless 3rd inning. Got himself back on track, and this will be a big inning for him here. Curveball misses off the plate. Ball 1 to McKenna. McKenna, Valleca, and Martin for Baltimore. They got all 4 runs in the 2nd inning.
Is this the first time we have seen Spencer Howard pitch into the 4th inning? He had a couple of 3-inning outings with the Rangers. I just can't remember if he went back out for the 4th.
That is a good question. I remember at least one start where I felt like they pushed him just a little bit more. Maybe try to get him out on a 4th inning. Strike 1 and 2. game at Seattle, maybe, in the 11th. That'd be the only one. It's a little high. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
So there's the averages. The 68 came with the Philadelphia Phillies this year. 57 was his high with the Rangers, which he has now passed. And it's all intentional. And some people looking at this going, what? That's it? Averaging less than 50 pitches per start. But that's kind of been the intent here with Spencer Howard.
There's strike 3 called, and he punches out McKenna. Second time he struck him out tonight.
Talk about his fastball. It is live. It's got some good carry on it. The vertical break is solid, and it'll jump on some hitters. They're trying to go in, but that's outer third with plenty of strike zone.
Anyway, to answer your question, no. He has never gone into the 4th inning. I went back and looked at that game on August 11th. At least not with the Rangers. He hasn't pitched into the 4th.
I'm looking at where it says he's thrown 2 pitches in the 4th inning since August 1st, which is since he's been here.
Well,
is that the White Sox outing?
I don't think so. No.
I'll go back and look.
He pitched 3 and then came out. 1-0. This ball in the air, out to left field, hanging up a little bit. Peters to the wall, and he makes the catch. That's another one tonight for the Rangers. 2 gone in the 4th inning.
I think Spencer Howard's caught in between being happy and being frustrated, because he could have let up 3 home runs tonight. They could have been 3 home runs that were robbed tonight by the Rangers. The Mullins home run was almost caught by Leody Taveras, but here comes another Rangers outfielder. Once again, the defense has been superb, even going back to the Yankees series. But there goes DJ Peters. Get up and pull it back in.
This ball out into right field. Back near the corner for that is Garcia. He went into a leap, but that one felt just beyond him, foul for a strike.
So you're right, actually. What I was looking at included today. That's why I showed the 2 pitches
I was
in the 4th inning.
That might have been the case.
But there's a little thing you click on. It says include live games, and I didn't include it, and it decided to include it anyway. Hey, you tell people I don't want this, and they still, like a good salesman, just shoving it in your face, trying to get you to take it.
You ever get the sense people just don't listen to you?
Say that again. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Ever get the sense what? You don't want to repeat it?
0-1 the count.
Our producer was talking to me, so I couldn't hear you.
Are you being serious?
100% serious. Yeah. I didn't hear you.
I legitimately asked you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the sense that people just aren't listening to you? And you said what? Yeah, go ahead.
I wish it was intentional.
You are obnoxious.
Great producing once again.
0-2 pitch. Out to right field. And again, Garcia. A chance. They don't make the play, and it's a 1-2-3 4th inning.
What I was told was we're going to roll out with the DJ Peters catch. What? And here it is. Once again, up and over. DJ Peters showing up. And Spencer Howard. No way. Look who that is right there. You see it? We'll talk about it when we get back.
All right, some fun so far tonight. 4-3 our score as we head to the 5th inning. Leody Taveras goes after the first pitch, lines it to 3rd. And Gutierrez makes the catch. And that is out number 1. Hey, we want to invite you to play Home Run Blast, presented by Coors Light. You pick 3 players you think will hit a home run, and if they do go deep, you win cash. Go to the Bally Sports app or homerunblast.com to play. One out. Top of the order now is Kiner Falefa. Stands in, and he takes, I believe, strike 1. And he hits this one on the ground. Shortstop Richie Martin is there. A couple of quick outs.
Since we teased it, we got to pay it off. Watch DJ Peters go up and then look to the left of your screen in the black hat. You know who that is, Dave?
Zach Hampel.
That's Zach Hampel with the umpire hat, I guess he's apparently wearing. Not a fan of either team. And if you don't know who he is, he visited us a couple of years ago up in the booth across the street. I don't even know how to describe exactly who he is, but he does have a YouTube channel. He's popular among the kids. He says that he's collected more than 11,000 baseballs. We talk about that, like the idea of getting a ball at a game, what a big deal that would be. Well, it was a passion of his, and it continues to be a passion of his. And he has got some pretty big home runs under his belt.
Another ground ball to shortstop by Ibanez. Makes for a 5-pitch inning for Wells. All right, halfway there tonight. It's 4-3. Baseball on Bally Sports is brought to you by Baylor Scott & White Health, changing healthcare for the better. Eddie Murray, one of the greatest switch hitters of all time, immortalized out front of Oriole Park at Camden Yards. 4-3. Orioles with the lead so far tonight. As we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Spencer Howard out of the ball game. Drew Anderson has come on.
This will be the 7th game for Drew Anderson this season with the Rangers. 15 innings pitched. He's given up just 1 home run so far this season. 4 strikeouts to 5 walks. He's been more of a fly ball pitcher in those 15 innings. And it's coming off a pretty strong game for him. He picked up his first big league win in 3 innings against the Chicago White Sox back on September 18th. Those numbers brought to you by TXU Energy.
All right, so Howard got through 4 innings tonight, his longest outing as a Ranger. Allowed 4 runs on 6 hits. No walks, 4 strikeouts. Anderson has it from here. Also, by the way, Howard ended up retiring 6 of the last 7 he faced. And one guy who reached was eventually caught stealing. So good strong finish tonight. Pitch from Anderson, and this one a comebacker grabbed by Drew, and he'll set up, fire over to first, and just like that, Gutierrez retired to start the bottom of the 5th. Right, time for a Chevy game break. Let's check in again with John Radigan.
Yeah, Dave, Yankees and Red Sox from Fenway. It's the 3rd inning when Giancarlo Stanton goes the opposite way. A 3-run shot extends the Yankees lead to 6-0. They now lead it 7-0 over, we call them the Yellow Sox.
Well, now they can finally burn those uniforms. That's good news. They were holding on to them because they were playing well in them, and Major League Baseball actually gave the Red Sox permission to wear those uniforms in the postseason, which would be a tragedy, I think, in my opinion.
Probably fairly strongly worded, but I get your point.
I get it. Like, we do some fun things once in a while. I showed you the Cubs highlights earlier, the Wrigleyville. You've seen those, the City Connect. I'm not a big fan of the dark pants necessarily, but I get it once in a while. But not in the postseason. The postseason, we need the traditional unis, don't we?
Yes. Two-0 pitch. There's a swing and a miss. So Mullins is grounded out and homered tonight. His home run very nearly caught by Leody Taveras in the 2nd inning. Leody just missed it. Got back there in good position and whatnot. Timed his leap pretty well. But by a couple of inches, it got out. And had he caught it, it would have been 3 home runs that the Rangers have brought back tonight. They've done a really good job out there on some well-hit balls by these Orioles. Anderson's 2-2. Movement on that one. 3-2. For Mullins, it was his 30th home run of the year, to go along with 30 stolen bases. And he's the first Oriole to ever accomplish a 30-30 season. Full count on Mullins. Mountcastle, Ryan Mountcastle waiting on deck. Here he comes. And that just missed. Ball 4. How about a word now from Choctaw Casino and Resort Durand?
Want to make your own big plays? We'll see you at Choctaw Casinos and Resorts, exclusively for everyone.
Runner on with 1 out, and Ryan Mountcastle, who's 1 for 2 at the plate now. The strikeout of Mountcastle in the 2nd inning, that was strikeout number 150 this season for the rookie. He goes after the first pitch here. Puts it high in the air out to right field. Adolis Garcia has plenty of time to get underneath it. 2 gone. That brings up Austin Hayes. It's amazing. Hayes and so many of these guys, you see him take that big deep breath, exhale, he closed his eyes. The breathing and the focus on just all the calming techniques, mental imagery that these teams, I mean, most of these teams now, I'm sure, if not every single one, all but just a handful, literally travel with at least one mental skills or mental health coach whose job it is simply to help train the guys in the mental side of the game. How to stay relaxed, how to block out the negative thoughts. It's swing and a miss. It's 1-1.
And the visual stuff you were talking about. Remember, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago we were talking to Joe Barlow and asking him about being the closer now and getting those big outs late. And he's basically said, I've already experienced it. I've already imagined it. I've already put myself in that scenario where I have closed out games, and whether it was, you know, as a kid, as an amateur, you kind of dream a little bit, and then to actually get it a little bit more with some science behind it and what the plan is behind visualization, so that when you do get put in the big moments, it's still going to feel big, but maybe not as big in the confidence source.
We've said it. Everybody has said it for years and years. It's not just baseball. It's pretty much every sport. The mental part of it is, name the percentage, right? It's 70% of the game. It's 90% of the game. And for years, there have been a couple of lone voices out there in the various sports saying, if it's 90% of the game, how come we never work on it? Why are we always working on mechanics? And I think at long last, we're starting to see teams really take that part of it seriously. And I just go back to look at the beginning of this year where the Rangers were winning ball games, beating teams like Tampa Bay, taking 3 out of 4 on the road, that kind of thing. And then after the All-Star break, when they just couldn't win a game, they could hardly put an inning together at times. And you're thinking, well, these are the exact same guys. They have the physical tools. They're not, it's not as if they can't play. They can. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is, you know, the collective or individual mental states. And sometimes it's of your opponent, sometimes it's you. But the point being, these guys are all supremely skilled athletes. It's just a matter of confidence, control, sometimes who knows what. If it was that easy, I guess, you know, everybody would have it figured out. It's not that easy. But I think it's great to see teams really investing in that side of the game.
Did the bounce back during failures, how to manage failures, big innings, how to stay away from them on the pitching side, what mental skills you need to be able to do that. You know, I think I told you, I feel like I brought this phrase up already more times than I usually would in a broadcast, but one of the things that irritated me about pitching through the PED era was not just the physical part of it, but the idea that guys were stepping in the box knowing that they had a physical advantage, which then gave them a mental advantage over the guys that were not using PEDs and then trying to face these guys and you're trying to find your way. And when you go back and look at numbers from 98 to 02, the offensive numbers are off the charts. The league batting average was 270 one year, the highest we've ever seen. And there was a huge mental advantage that came along with that.
This one popped up. Foul ground, third base side. Culberson gets to it, and the inning is done. All right, we have 5 innings in the books tonight. It's a 1-run game. 4-3, Baltimore on top. As we get to the 6th inning at Camden Yards, Rangers a little time left to get it done here tonight. They're going to have to come from behind to do it, though. And they will see a new pitcher, albeit a familiar name to the Rangers organization. Dylan Tate, former first-round draft pick by the Rangers.
Let's go ahead and take a look at his numbers. 58 games on the season, ERA around 4.5, 63 innings. All those games have come in relief. He has given up 6 home runs this year. The fastball's been averaging 96 miles an hour.
So that was just an average fastball.
Yeah, you know, nothing. Well, I won't say nothing makes me happier, but I do enjoy when that happens and he hits the average. Makes me feel like every once in a while I actually do know what I'm doing. Did I say the slider average is 84?
No, but you might as well.
It actually averages 86. That's why I didn't say.
Well, it was 84 anyway. There's another average fastball fouled away. Oh, 1-2 on Adolis Garcia.
Not surprising with Tate because those fastballs predominantly are two-seam fastballs. He does a good job getting ground balls. 61% is the ground ball rate this year.
Garcia chops this one toward third. Bare hand attempt and no throw. Nothing there for Gutierrez. So Adolis Garcia has his 2nd hit of the night.
A little bit surprising that Gutierrez did not make an attempt. Garcia does do a good job of getting down the line, but he's looked a little bit, I don't know, lacking some confidence on some of his throws, I thought, on some of the double plays and the opportunities that they've had. Now, he did get it on his fingertips, and so maybe that had something to do with it. Or maybe what he saw was just not an opportunity to make a play at first.
The Rangers have some speed over at first base now. Potential tying run out there is Nathaniel Lowe. And a little bouncer to second base, and that's a bad flip to get the lead runner. They do erase Garcia. That goes 4-6, but that was clunky.
They've had some issues, as I mentioned. It was also kind of a slow turn. Now, we saw Jahmai Jones playing second yesterday, but he got taken out for defense late. Not exactly sure why, but Blake obviously never ran the option when he was a quarterback in high school, assuming.
So now it's Lowe over at first for Nick Solak, who's 0 for 1 with a walk.
In his defense, Sunshine also struggled with that pitch. Remember? Remember the Titans? No. Sunshine had a real hard time when he couldn't. It was a real issue for him. Had a hard time getting over it.
I did not.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Talked to Petey about it. Talked to Rev. Try to get him straight.
Didn't work out? Or they...
No, they had a perfect season. It worked out pretty well in the end.
I need to watch the movie now.
You've never seen Remember the Titans?
No, I haven't. Of course, at this point, I've had plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
It's got to be 15 years old, 20 years old.
Man.
I reserve my movie watching for, you know, good movies.
Don't let Denzel hear you say that.
1-0. I have no opinion on the movie. I've never seen it.
Oh, that's great.
Activity. Fernando Abad loosening up in the Orioles pen. Tate's 2-0. And there's a strike.
That kind of sinker, too, thinking about a 2-0 count. Have all the confidence in the world throwing that ball down the middle. You can see where opposing hitters would have a hard time squaring him up when his fastball is on.
As I mentioned, he was a first-round draft pick for the Rangers back in 2015. Fourth player taken overall that year. 2-2 the county. Came out of UC Santa Barbara. Was not in the organization a terribly long time. Rangers ended up trading him to the Yankees. And Carlos Beltran to Texas. Outside, and it's a full count now on Solak. Of course, Tate now 27 years old. This is his third year in the big leagues. Low off first, not going anywhere. The 3-2 pitch, and that one shot to the right side goes off the glove of Valleca. Lowe stops at second, but the Rangers have two base runners now in the 6th inning. It's a base hit.
Sounded like a broken bat. Again, that heavy sinker that you see from Dylan Tate, and Valleca made an attempt here just off the very end of his glove.
All right, so 2 men out there, and now Brandon Hyde coming out to the mound. Brock Holt was announced as a pinch hitter here, so Culberson is out. And with Holt, the lefty, coming up, looks like Hyde may want to make a move. We showed you Abad getting loose in the bullpen. They may bring on the lefty, and indeed, that's what they'll do. So Dylan Tate, a short night for him, and he's responsible for the 2 Rangers runners. Here comes Abad in the 6th.
Rangers with a little something going here in the top of the 6th. 2 on, 1 out, trailing the Orioles 4-3. Nick Solak with that broken bat single to cause the exit of Dylan Tate. And when we talk about Nick Solak, it has been quite the journey for him this season. And for Chris Woodward, he said it is so encouraging to see him having bounced back the way he did, coming back up from the minor leagues after being sent down. And he said one of the things that he feels like Nick has made huge strides in is trying to find that middle ground between being obsessively obsessed with trying to get better and also to finding that joy in the game. Because if you do obsess over it as much as Nick was at certain points during this season, it'll drive you crazy and it will grind you to death. And so this season, like I said, has been a huge learning process for Nick, and the coaching staff has definitely taken notice of that. And it's something Nick talked about pretty openly today, which, you know, we don't see that a lot from Nick Solak. He's a pretty reserved guy. He gives, you know, usually pretty short answers, pretty to himself, but I felt like he was really open today. And I thought that was an encouraging sign too. And maybe I'm just being, you know, overly analytical here, but I felt like that was a big step too today in just talking about all those things.
I agree with you. And it was interesting, the idea that he would be as open as he was, because he has been pretty reserved. So perhaps that points to some changes that are going on with him. There's a balance in there somewhere as far as what you want to share with the media and what you don't, but maybe just showing some of that vulnerability too. I think by being honest where you are, that could be a huge step for him on the mental side.
Fernando Abad comes inside with this one. 1-1 to Holt.
Just 13 games this season for Abad. You can see the numbers there from him. What you get is a 2-seam fastball, slider, and changeup. Once in a while you get the 4-seamer, but another guy who relies heavily on the 2-seam fastball.
Rangers have a man at second, a man at first, and a high chopper to second base. They'll get the out at second. That is all. Second out of the inning. And now Lowe 90 feet away down there at third.
So after Valleca couldn't turn that double play and had the bad feed, it seems like the ball just keeps finding him. He had a shot at Solak's base hit. He gets another ground ball hit back to him.
Let's hope Peters hits it over his head this time. DJ had a base hit, scored a run in the 4th inning, or drove in a run, I should say, in the 4th inning. The man he drove in was Nathaniel Lowe, and he's got a chance to do that again here. Would tie the game. Are you able to do it? And he bounces this one third base. The play will be to first. The throw, not a great one, but Mountcastle keeps his foot on the bag, and the inning is over. Rangers lead a couple of runners. Bottom of the 6th inning coming up. It's 4-3.
Game diagnosis, and the Rangers flashing the leather. Now this one, a fly ball hit by Cedric Mullins just out of the reach of Tavares, and he's probably wondering, man, when am I going to get a chance to rob a home run again? Well, pretty soon, because he did get another opportunity on the Severino fly ball. This one he caught, ended up bringing it back, saving a 2-run home run, or would have been a 2-run home run. And then DJ Peters getting in on the act as well, finding some room out there in left field. He finds the wall, he gets up. Zach Hampel, ball hog of baseball, as we know, and a guy that has collected a lot of baseballs in his career. He did a good job as a guy who's been around, not reaching over and trying to take that baseball away from DJ Peters. But you can see the score, 4-3. The Mullins 3-run home run. Severino was robbed. Nathaniel Lowe also a 2-run home run tonight. He's got a single as well. DJ Peters having himself a pretty good night in Baltimore.
Checks his card as he gets ready for the bottom of the 6th inning. Mancini, Severino, and McKenna coming up for Baltimore. Brock Holt pinch hit last inning. He'll stay in the game at third base.
Well, speaking of the Cards, I don't think you and I did we have a chance to talk about what happened in Tampa?
Briefly, we discussed it.
We did talk about it?
Yeah, coming out of one of the game breaks, I believe. After they had thrown at Kiermaier, what, a day or two later.
Yeah, trailed them. But Barecki, their pitcher, got a 3-game suspension. Charlie Montoyo got a 1-game. I just wonder if that's going to happen anymore as we look at guys. The Cards they're going to get away from you once in a while. Are they fair game? Can you steal them?
Well, what would you have done?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to imagine. Just wasn't something that existed. It's up to these guys, I guess. But every time I see somebody looking at one, I get a little bit more curious. How proprietary is that information? How important is it to keep it away from your opponent?
And then what level of information are on the various cards? Some of them are simple positioning cards for maybe outfielders and whatnot. Pitchers and catchers, you would expect to have a little more detail on their cards. Didn't Joe West a couple years ago take one away? The bouncer third base. Holt charges, throws to first in time to get Mancini for out number 1. And he just came out to a pitcher and was like, no, you can't use that. This is when we had well established that everybody was using them. 1 out, and it brings up Pedro Severino. We had a shot the other day, one of the camera angles, must have been when we were in New York, and they were looking at Gary Sanchez's cards on his wristband, and he had like a little, kind of like a little plastic window that offered a little slot where you could just pull out a card, put in a different pitcher's card. I thought it was kind of a slick little contraption, but you could see it was just slightly open, and you could see just a little bit of detail for the second or so that they had, zoomed in on it. And I thought, well, that could be interesting to see, maybe just what that little bit of information is. It looked like the shape of the field, as if maybe like a spray chart.
I thought it might have been a heat map. I wasn't sure either.
That's what it was.
And kind of understanding where you can go with fastballs. I think probably where guys' swings have issues and where they're strong and where your pitcher can kind of go. I think that's probably something guys would like to be able to have. Like you study that information early on, a pretty good amount of it on average. But it can't hurt to have it as backup either. And then the sets of signs that go with it as well.
Popped up back of first base by Severino. Lowe is there. And they're 2 away. I was checking again with Emily.
Well, we talked about Nick Solak's pregame Zoom. I also thought Woody was pretty open today. He's so optimistic. but he said, and I quote, "This season is a failure, and it's okay to say we sucked this year." And, you know, to hear those words come out of Chris Woodward's mouth were slightly jarring, just because he does always tend to find the silver lining. And he said, but look, we've got to say it, and we have to say it out loud, so we don't get in this place to where we think, you know, everything's coming up roses when it's not. And I thought, you have to think, if he's saying it to us, that's a message that he's giving his team as well, that we're not going to sugarcoat everything. This is not it. We sucked this year, and this has been a failure.
And I get it too, because I've had this conversation with him a few times recently, and there are certain individuals who don't need to be pointed out who come back to the dugout sometimes, and they relay basically positive messages from their bat during which they were retired. And he told me, he's like, you know, and he is a relentlessly positive person, as you point out. But he was like, you know, the reality is, of course we want to be positive, but you've got to understand, getting out over and over again, just that isn't that positive, right? And
Yeah.
and you got to know the difference.
Sure.
And you got to understand that, like, okay, yeah, you had a plan, and that's good. That's step one. But you've got to execute, right? You've got to do this right and that right. And it's because, you know, it is tricky, right? You can't just be Mr. Positive all the time. There has to be some level of reality and accountability.
The self-realization, the self-awareness has to be there as an athlete. I mean, just, you know, and I mean, as a human being, period, but especially at this level. If you're just, you know, and I've seen it time and time again, where guys can talk themselves into they're not as bad as everyone makes them out to be. And you know, that might be the case as a human, and no one will question work ethic or whatever, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you are what you are as a player, and you can't talk yourself into or talk someone else into what you are.
I think it's generational too, right? And thinking about kind of where we are with a lot of the positive talk, and there's value in it, but then also some of that criticism and self-awareness that you're talking about. There's a line in there, and I think for Woody, I feel like after the team gets shut out or has a really bad offensive day where he's frustrated is when it kind of sticks out or maybe bothers him the most, and that certainly happened last night.
He's going to be happy with that half inning right there. A 1-2-3 sixth sends us to the seventh inning in a one-run game. Rangers baseball on Bally Sports is presented by Choctaw Casino and Resort Durant. Expansion now open. Stakes raised. All right, seventh inning tonight in Baltimore, where the Orioles lead 4-3. Rangers dropped the opener yesterday. They were shut out 3-0 by this Baltimore team, and trying to even the series with a win tonight, but they've got to get a little something going here against this Orioles bullpen as Fernando Abad dumps in a breaking ball for strike one to Jonah Heim.
Yeah, we mentioned it. Oh, sorry, Dave. We mentioned it earlier, right? Or last night, the bullpen in Baltimore, worst ERA in baseball. I'd like to think the Rangers could find a way to kind of get to that bullpen.
Bouncer left side of the infield, and Heim retired, one away. How about a word from Kia?
It's summer, so wherever you get out and go, you can count on a Kia to take you there.
Right here is Leote. He smoked the balls last time up. Lined out to Gutierrez at third base. Popped up his first time in, so he's 0 for 2 tonight. He takes outside ball one. Now, Tavares is a very different guy than the guy we saw at the beginning of the year. He just struggled mightily when the season began. When he was sent down to AAA, I believe he was hitting well below 100. It was like 086 or something along those lines. This one lashed foul. 1-2. But he got himself straightened out at AAA. Spent the better part of the year there. Even when he came back, though, it was a struggle. It took him a little while to get going. But lately seems to have settled in a little. 2-2.
It's the last component. It's the last piece the Rangers are kind of waiting on. And it would be nice to see, and we could say that about a lot of these guys. There's some really good defenders among this young group of Rangers, like Andy Ibanez, like Yanni Hernandez, Taveras, DJ Peters. But can they take that next step and prove that they can hit in the big leagues with any kind of consistency? It's a pretty important component. Taveras ends up taking this fastball. Not a bad one, but at 93 and catching a good part of the plate. I'd like to see him at least offer at that pitch.
Zabad's first strikeout, and with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa coming up, here comes Brandon Hyde. So he wants a right-hander. And so Abad is done. A 4-3 game in the 7th. Orioles with the lead. Now remember, September is Fan Appreciation Month, thanks to Valley Sports Southwest and 105.3 The Fan. Because of their help, you can save up to 30% on tickets for that final homestand of the year. Go to TexasRangers.com/specials. Use that coupon code THANKS. It'll be fun to fill this place up a couple more times. Rangers with just 6 home games remaining after this series in Baltimore. Hopefully they'll remove those.
Yeah, but how about that right there? That's some kind of wiffle ball home run derby set up for kids, right?
I guess, yeah. I guess it's not much of a poke to get it from the plate over those.
Well, maybe you should bring your wiffle ball bat tomorrow and we'll test it out.
Maybe I was here already today.
Yeah, you like the big red one probably, right?
I do love that big red.
Fill it up with newspaper, just launch.
Hey, did I ever tell you about Joey Crable? He's the 61st Oriole being used this year.
And a guy who's got a little bit of time in the big leagues, not very much. He came into the season with 3 days of service time, and he pitched with the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2018. Excuse me, this year earlier, and he was with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 18. So he's got 3 big league games under his belt. Those are the AAA numbers that you're looking at for Crable.
That first one in for a strike. So the 3rd reliever used already tonight for Baltimore. Hyde managing this thing like it is a postseason game. I mean, he wants the matchups down the stretch here. He's got some arms to do it. 1 ball, 1 strike on Kiner-Falefa. 2 out, nobody on in the 7th. Crable's 1-1. That's off the plate. 96 miles per hour. Crable claimed off waivers from Tampa Bay yesterday. And that's wide. 3-1.
Kind of an interesting delivery. There's a lot of movement there, even as he's coming set. He kicked his left leg back, almost like a toe tap, came set. As he starts moving, ball comes out of the glove, then goes back in. There's like another tap. It's got a little bit of rhythm to it. There's the kick, there's the taps. Just separation, tap again, and go.
And the fall away to the first base side, too. That's one lined into right field, base hit. Well, Kiner-Falefa with his 2nd hit of the ball game.
So, Dave, you're talking about obviously them trying to win this game right now. The Baltimore Orioles are tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks for the worst record in baseball, which means they are currently tied for the first pick in next year's draft. However, there's a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker goes to the record of last year. They had the same exact record last year, so you got to go back to 2019 when the Orioles had a worse record. But these are the last 5 years. We were talking about the state of this organization and potentially getting that first overall pick in next year's draft. They had it in 19. They had 2nd overall in 20, 5th overall. I mean, some really high draft picks over these last 5 seasons, including the 11th overall draft pick. But, you know, if you're sitting in the stands right now, and we got into this a little bit yesterday, you see these mid-inning pitching changes and the Orioles doing what they can to try to win this 1-run game. There's a part of you going, you know what, first overall pick, like, we get whoever we want. There's something to that.
You can't mess it up, but usually kind of hard to mess that one up.
It happens. I mean, it definitely happens, but I think the idea of having that pick certainly, and they got to be done with it, quite honestly. For me, the Baltimore Orioles, like, I get it. There's times you You and I have often talked about the Astros and the 3 losing seasons and having the first overall pick 3 years in a row, and that's fine. But there is a range in there somewhere where fans will say, hey, that's enough already. And the Orioles need to be in that spot. They need to start seeing some development. They need to start spending some money, and they got to stop getting such high draft picks.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned what Houston did and how that worked. Mike Elias, who is the general manager of the Orioles, he was their assistant general manager scouting when Houston was doing that. Sig Maydal, he was right-hand man to Luno in Houston when they built that front office. Those two are the top 2 now in Baltimore, and they do seem to be following a very similar model. You know, you tear it down to the studs, get those high draft picks. I saw a note today, might have been Ken Rosenthal who tweeted this. So the next fan who puts down their season ticket deposit next year for Baltimore will have more money invested in the Orioles next season than the Orioles. There's a bouncer up the middle, and that will end the inning because the Orioles don't have any money currently committed to a player for next season. So they've got some financial flexibility as well. Bottom of the 7th coming up, 4-3. Well, it's 4-3 Baltimore in Baltimore here. Globe Life Field across the street. They're playing high school football. You know, you can get final scores, game recaps, and more for the top high school football games in Texas on High School Scoreboard Live. Tonight and every Friday at 11 p.m. on Valley Sports Southwest. All the updates you want out of Class 6A. Austin Westlake currently the top ranked. University of Katy 4-0. That's what they used to call them down there in the Houston area. South Lake Carroll off to a great start. I mean, that program just keeps rolling. Some Rangers fans on hand tonight in Baltimore. Look at that, stocking caps, sweatshirts. Oh man, that is awesome. Fall weather has arrived.
People back there having a good time and enjoying it. Why not?
See, we can all get along.
So I'm confused by the 2 Ranger fans we just saw. One looked really cold, one looks perfectly fine and comfortable with the temperature, wearing the Hawaiian shirt, and he had sweatshirt with the cap. What do you think?
Good question.
Is it cold?
Yeah, I think it's probably chilly.
Air violin.
Maybe the other dude's got his beer jacket on. I don't know.
This guy was playing air violin. You don't see that every day.
We saw the air bongos yesterday, right?
Maybe it's something in the air in Baltimore.
It definitely looks chilly. Well, it actually looks comfy.
It's my favorite time of year, man. I love sweatshirt weather. We're almost there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's close. Of course, up here in the booth, it's always sweatshirt weather. Bottom of the 7th inning.
Don't you mean soft blanket? There's 2 Ranger blankets there from the giveaway.
Yeah.
One for Dave, one for Emily.
Anderson's pitch, that one upstairs, ball 1 to Pat Valleca. Had a home run taken away earlier tonight. Valleca, Martin, and Gutierrez. There's something too about seeing the Orioles, you know, this late in September. The next big holiday on the calendar is Halloween.
Yep.
There's something about orange teams like the Giants and the Orioles this time of year. They just look, they seem like they're just properly placed on your television screen this time of year.
Built for September, at least one of those teams you mentioned, also built for October.
Giants for sure, man. Well, they never did fade this year, the Giants.
They had a chance, though. Yesterday, it looked like they were going to be up 3 games. And they go into tonight only up by 1. They lost late. They fell behind early, lost late. The Dodgers came back and won late. And that kind of changed it. But at one point, the Giants were winning, the Dodgers were losing, which meant it was going to be a 3-game lead in the National League West, and instead it was 1.
Swing and a miss. Valleca strikes out on the high fastball, 1 away.
I want to chime in on holiday talk before we get away from it too quickly. I walked into the grocery store the other day. This was like 3 weeks ago. There's a Christmas tree decorated with fall decor, like brown and orange, yellow leaves. What are we doing here?
Is that a Christmas tree, really? Or is that a?
It's a tree that people tend to put up at Christmas time. What are we just going to start having trees up and you just decorate them with the holiday of your choice?
No.
And I mean,
not a bad idea.
It's enough is enough. I just think it's too much. It's too soon.
No,
it's
Valentine's
too soon.
Day tree and your 4th of July tree.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, it's still 100 degrees here.
Yeah.
You walk into
Not
the
this
store.
morning.
No, you're right. But this
Nice
was
day.
like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. That makes it tough.
Christmas tree with fall decor on it. I just couldn't get past it. It was very unsettling.
Put some presents under that thing and I'm in.
Yeah. Yep. Well, if we can start doing the tree for every holiday, like you say, maybe a Valentine's Day, a 4th of July tree, that'd be awesome.
So my kids are so disappointed because I don't decorate for any holiday but Christmas, and everyone else will have the Valentine's Day wreaths and the Easter stuff, all the things.
The Horno Plenty.
And
Yep, we got one of those.
what is
Thanksgiving,
that?
the cornucopia.
Oh, yeah, I don't have any decor except Christmas decor. And they always ask, like, Mommy, why don't we have Christmas? I mean, why don't we have decorations for insert holiday here?
And your answer is always?
Because Mommy's lazy.
Yeah.
That's
It's always good
pretty
to
much it.
keep them looking up. Right? You
Yeah.
don't give them everything. Don't get them too comfortable. Let them get excited about going to their friend's house so they can see their fall decorations.
Yeah, just keep them isolated in the home.
Yeah. Easter, right? That can usually be a big
Oh yeah,
one.
I didn't tell my kids about the Easter bunny,
Nice.
and when they finally busted me on it, I said, "Oh, you have to write a letter to the Easter bunny if you want him to come to your house."
Oh, so the Easter Bunny just
You lied twice.
Yeah, that's my whole parenthood is just a series of lies that I'm having to continue to cover up, basically. So yeah, I made that one up. Then so they wrote a letter to the Easter bunny, and then the Easter bunny came, and then they busted me with the baskets the first time that the Easter bunny was supposed to come.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff going on over there.
You write a book about parenting.
Well, it'd be a lot easier just to decorate the dadgum house and put it into the questions. Little comebacker. Martin retired. One away. All right, I know a guy who decorates for any occasion, and he's here with a Chevy game break. Let's check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Dave, thanks. Marlins and Rays, and it's the bases loaded for another Rookie of the Year candidate. Randy Arozarena clears the bases with a 3-run double. If the Rays hold on to win and the Red Sox lose, the Rays can clinch the division tomorrow. I got to hurry home to get decorated for Halloween on my Christmas tree.
Put that skeleton up on the on the top of the tree. Gutierrez now the batter. He is 1 for 2. Anderson's doing a nice job here in relief.
Really nice. And I mentioned that previous outing for him when he picked up his first big league win. He went 3 innings for the Rangers, just gave up the 1 run. The only hit that he allowed in that game. He looked really good against a tough lineup in the White Sox. So perhaps now for Drew Anderson starting to figure some things out. And you could see potentially his future in a role like this, multi-inning reliever role, which has become much more important in the game. He's got a deep enough repertoire to do that, to go around the lineup at least one time.
That was 1-1. Pretty close. Yeah. It's interesting. He hit that, or threw that, exactly where he wanted. Jonah hardly had to move. He set up on the outside corner. Got that breaking ball right on that corner. And it's almost like he earned that call from Chris Conroy, because I don't think it was a strike. 1-2. And again, he's down right into the glove. Stays 1-2. Spencer Howard went 4 innings tonight, his longest outing as a Ranger, struck out 4. Anderson trying to make it 3 shutout in relief, and his 1-2. There we go. How about an appeal? No. Ben May down there at first. Says the inning should continue.
See what Chris Woodward wants to do if Drew Anderson can get through this inning. The first batter he faced of the game was Gutierrez, so this is now the 10th batter and second time through the order.
A long pause, the 2-2. It's fouled away. There have been some stretches recently for this Rangers team where the bullpen really has been taxed. And so what Anderson is doing tonight, very welcome sight. Yesterday the bullpen got a little bit of a break. Fultonevich threw 2 scoreless in relief after Otto went 5 innings. So that was a luxury for this bullpen lately.
See Jonah Heim right there? He gave you the parent look. Turned his head sideways. You need to get that down. That is not a good place to throw that slider. It was at the very top of the zone, and the facial expression from Jonah Heim said it all. You got away with one right there. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again.
That'll be the 8th pitch of this at bat here to Gutierrez. And a comebacker. That one is through. That's a base hit. The 9th place hitter, Kevin Gutierrez, with a really good at bat right there. I'll slide over a moment for Texas Motor Speedway.
17 years of NASCAR showdowns. The Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 500, Sunday, October 17th. Tickets at TexasMotorspeedway.com.
All right, now Cedric Mullins, 1 for 2 with that big home run in the 2nd inning. He's also walked. Anderson, the one who walked him, that was in the 5th. Breaking ball right in there for a strike. Well, they announced the crowd tonight, 7,935, so a little more than they had yesterday. An Orioles team that has lost 104 games this year. One and one.
So remember we were talking about Cedric Mullins and finding out that he used to be a switch hitter until this year. Look at the previous 3 seasons, what he did against left-handed pitchers. That means, of course, he batted right-handed. This year, he's batting left-handed against lefties, and what a difference it has made for Cedric Mullins. Just a small part of what has been a great story for him in 2021, but the decision to hang him up as a switch hitter and bat left-handed only. I've always wondered about that for guys that are strong one way or the other. Like obviously he was plowing through and trying to be that switch hitter, and the numbers were not there at the big league level. Now those weren't full seasons, they were sporadic, and he was only getting a little bit of big league time during that run, those 3 years prior to this year. I wonder if it's helped him mentally too. How many times we've heard a switch hitter talk about the reality of going into a slump on one side of the plate but not the other, and the real battle that comes along sometimes with being a switch hitter. I can't remember which guy I was talking to. Might have been this winter about switch hitting in both sides, and he said I wouldn't wish that on anybody because he was having a kid and he was a switch hitter. So you can make your kid switch hit. He's like, gosh, no. It's like I wouldn't do that to him. It'd be awful.
2-1, and a chopper over the mound right there for it. Kiner Falefa steps to the bag. The inning is done. 8th inning is here. Rangers running a little short on time, but they trail by just 1 run. Drew Anderson talking with Doug Mathis in the dugout, and boy, a lot of instruction and technical work going on down there. But he's pitched well tonight. Looks pretty pleased. 1-run game as we get to the 8th inning. Now looking ahead to tomorrow, Jordan Lyles will have the ball for the Rangers, and Jordan looking for his 10th win of the year, and that would be no small accomplishment in a season like this. John Means, I believe, has been named
to Sunday.
Oh yeah, he's been moved to Sunday. That's right. So Chris Ellis is indeed the starter tomorrow. Crossed up. The more information they give me, Likely I am to get confused. There's a bouncer at third base. And Garcia grounds out to start the 8th inning. One away.
Pretty routine play here for Gutierrez, and he makes a really nice strong throw. I mentioned some of the throws been a little wayward for him tonight, and another middle of the inning pitching change.
Middle of the inning, there's one pitch in.
That should be illegal.
All right, so Crable is done, and we'll see more of this Orioles pen when we come back.
Thinking back to Wednesday as we talk about this Ranger outfield defense, it has been really good lately, and there have been a lot of great throws, but this was one of the best we have seen all season. Adolis Garcia and the strong throw home at nearly 96 miles an hour. Tonight it was about flashing the leather and getting up over the wall. Leody Taveras brings back a potential home run. DJ Peters a little bit jealous. He wanted one of his own, and he got it out in left field. Rangers almost robbed 3 home runs tonight, but they are too deep. You should see Taveras and Peters. I mentioned Taveras had a shot earlier in the game to take one away from Cedric Mullins and came up just a little bit short. There haven't been very many times where we look at this outfield defense and have seen very many mistakes. They've done a really nice job covering a lot of ground. Great arms out there. They've been good all year long.
Managed to keep it a 1-run game. Low takes a little high. Cole Sulser. We'll see him for back-to-back games.
58th game of the season for this right-hander, and as you mentioned, we saw him in yesterday's ball game. The guy's been really good for a right-hander coming in to face a lefty. They're hitting just 194 against him this year.
Well, he's facing a guy who's swinging the bat pretty well in general, and certainly tonight. Nathaniel Lowe, 2 for 3, a home run. He has scored 2 runs. And he hits this one in the air out to right center field, and that is tracked down out there by Mullins. Went away.
Speaking of outfields, did you see that play in Toronto last night?
I did not.
So Gurriel Jr., Lourdes Gurriel, playing left field. Randall Grichuk playing center. Ball splits them, goes to the wall. Grichuk picks it up, but they got pretty close to each other. So Gurriel bends to get out of the way. As Grichuk throws the ball, he steps on Gurriel's hand, cuts his finger with his metal spike. He had to get x-rays, and they said, you know, it seems like no breaks in there, but they're a little bit concerned. He has been on fire for them offensively, has Lourdes Gurriel. But just a really awkward play, and he didn't step on it when he went to make the throw like with his first foot. It was the foot that came around after the throw, like almost on the follow-through, and he just crushed his finger. Take him out of the game. Looked like it was broken, but they said it was not. Blood everywhere, stitches. Really awkward play. I don't think I've ever seen that in the outfield.
One and one here to Nick Solak. Rangers down to their final 4 outs tonight. Solak had a hit his last time up. 1 for 2 with a walk. Rangers got 2 runs in the first. They added a run in the 4th inning. 3 tonight, and there is a foul. It's 1 and 2. On the ground, that's a base hit into left field. Solak chugs for second. He'll be in there easily. 2-out double. The Rangers now have that tying run in scoring position.
We know Nick Solak will hit a lot of ground balls, but take a look at this changeup and the movement and the depth. Look how far down that ball goes, and it's in off the plate. And they gave Solak some room in between where the third baseman Gutierrez was playing in the bag, and he took full advantage of it. A pitch down and in. He's going to pull it right down the line for a double.
All right, so chance here as Brock Holt comes to the plate. Left-handed hitter against the right-hander. Sulzer, little tapper out in front of the plate. Sulzer bare hand, throws to first in time. Just gets Holt. And the inning is done. Rangers leave a man in scoring position. Bottom of the 8th inning. Orioles working with the 4-3 lead tonight. A one-run game, 4-3. Bottom of the 8th inning. Orioles will be sending the 2, 3, and 4 hitters in the 8th. But Josh Sborz comes out of the bullpen for the Rangers, and a big spot here. He's got to make sure this is a scoreless half inning.
Game number 61, 56 innings on the year, 7 home runs for Sborzy, 66 strikeouts in those 56 innings. That gives him a 27% strikeout rate. Good job there. The walk's a little bit high at 30. The walk rate at 12%. He'd probably like to knock off 3 or 4% of that walk rate if he could. Four-seam fastball averaging 97 miles an hour. He looked really live in his last outing against the New York Yankees on the 22nd. The fastball was popping out of his hand. It was averaging 98 that game.
Well, this will be a good challenge here in the 8th inning. Ryan Mountcastle, 1 for 3. A base hit, a strikeout, and a flyout tonight. And for Sborz, if he could just keep up with Drew Anderson's effort tonight, that would be great. Drew Anderson, 3 shutout innings. It's fouled away. 1-1.
It's encouraging. Now the Rangers, I felt like, and I mentioned this last time, I've given Sborz a little bit of time in between outings. He did have a back-to-back situation. He threw 3 out of 4 going back to the 16th of September through the 17th and then the 19th. But prior to that, there seemed like there was a little bit more rest in between his outings. And for a guy, as we had this conversation with a lot of the Rangers going through a first full season in the big leagues like this, wire to wire, to see him have this kind of velocity at the end of the year was pretty encouraging. Showed you the 60 games. He had 11 career games at the big league level coming into the season. His career high in the minor leagues was 46 games pitched. Now, he had been a starter early in his career, so a little bit different as far as the innings go when he was an A-ball and double-A. But to see this velocity late September for a guy who's pitched as much as he has is certainly some good news and encouraging news for the Rangers.
Falls behind 3-1 here on Mountcastle. Orioles, they're shooting for their 50th win of the year. 3-1 pitch. Well, that's a full count. And for Baltimore, after this series, both teams will enjoy an off day on Monday, but then the Orioles will welcome in Boston for 3. They'll finish the year in Canada. They've got 3 games in Toronto this first 3 days of October. (3-2) pitch, and it's pulled over to third base. Holt bobbled it and will have no play. We'll see how they score that one. If he was in position, scooped it, but then just jumped out of his glove.
I would guess that it'd be a base hit just because it would take a really, really good play for this to have been an out. And we've seen Brock Holt make a lot of these plays, but he's got the short hop there, tough to deal with. And once it gets in and out of his glove, he's got absolutely no chance.
Lead runner on for Baltimore.
Was a base hit.
Mountcastle will take his lead. Austin Hayes now the hitter. It's interesting. I would think with 99 with that fastball. I would think as a pitcher that you would see that instinctively as an error.
Try to be objective in this chair, Dave. If I was in Josh Sborz's spot, I'd be furious that that was ruled in.
1-0.
I would say things like, this is the big leagues. You expect that play to be made, that kind of stuff.
That's good. That's how you endear yourself. Now the Rangers, they're trying to avoid loss number 99. 55 wins, 98 losses coming into play today. Commonly, it seems these days there are questions, whether it be to the players or to Chris Woodward, about the meaning, if you will, of 100 losses should that occur. This pop-up on the infield handled by Lowe, and that's out number 1. And it's interesting because a lot of times that question comes up, and I mean, I guess I'm not always thinking about it. It seems somewhat inevitable given the way the season has gone and the number of games remaining, and I just don't see that number, whether you end up at 99 losses or 102 losses, I don't know that it changes the way I feel or think about this season.
It's a round number, and players don't really spend a lot of time thinking about it either. I had to go back and look. Like, oh, did I ever play on a 100-loss team? I have no idea.
And
100-win team, but you remember.
Had
I
you
wasn't
played
there
on
the whole year.
loss?
What's that?
Did you?
Yeah, in Houston we won 102 games that year.
No, but what about a 100-loss team?
So I had to go back and look.
Right.
And so looking at, I got traded over to the Tigers, spent then a half a year in '96. That team lost 109 games. I would not have known that. I knew it was a bad team. I knew we were one of the worst, maybe the worst, starting pitchers ERA in our game's history. But the total number of losses, so you said, hey, did you guys lose 100 that year? I would have no idea. You're just not thinking about it. Even when you get to the point for some of these teams that are close to 500, oh, it'd be great if we got to 500 this year, like with a week to go in September. Who cares? Like, as a player, you don't care. You don't get anything for finishing 500 or above 500. It means you didn't make the playoffs. I just don't think very many guys care outside of getting into the postseason and having the big years where you're winning games.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, though, because I feel like I've been on a number of teams over the years where I felt like, yeah, let's go. Let's win 3 of these last, 5 games and make sure that you finish at 500 or a game over. I always felt like that was kind of meaningful. But again, I'm not down there in a uniform, and I think your point's a valid one, right? Which is like, it's just in or out, really. Liner out to left field. Nice play again by Peters. He reels that one in. Retires Mancini, 2 away.
And the great defense continues from DJ Peters. This ball hit pretty hard off the bat of Trey Mancini and looked like for a second had a chance to get in the gap. But Peters gets around it, and then that kind of half slide and dive to catch it and record that out. Mancini looked pretty frustrated as he was headed back down into the Orioles dugout, maybe in the tunnel.
Hey, Dave, I think to your point of that kind of stuff being a big deal, the record where you finish, I think it depends too on where you've been. So let's say you were a 100-loss team last season and then you finish a game above 500 this season. You can find steps that you're progressing, right? So if you can earmark something to where you can see significant progress, that maybe it would matter more than just, this team has struggled for the last couple of seasons, and so, what does it matter? They're all kind of running together. But if next season they're hovering around 500 and can finish the season above 500, I think you would consider that a step in the right direction.
Oh, definitely that step in the right direction. I think that, for some of the players, they also realize it might not be around when you're on a really bad team by the time they get good. And so there's some frustration just being part of the losing side, but not the winning side of it as well. Organizationally, it matters. You want to see that. You would like to be able to say we've been above 500. But again, it doesn't mean you necessarily accomplished a lot of goals. Now, if this team was above 500, that'd be a pretty big deal. I think based on how they went into the season and what the expectations were. And if you had a lot of guys that were playing above expectations and winning games, as a fan, and again, coaches in the front office, we're a little closer than maybe we thought we were. What do we have to do to plug in to take us to that next step?
Because I remember back in 2009, which was the season before this team got back to the postseason in 2010, you could sense that they were close and that there was a level of optimism there after how bad those previous seasons had been. And so there was a sense of, okay, we're close. And even though they didn't make it to the postseason that year, there was a sense of we're headed in the right direction. We've got a lot of the pieces in place, you know, just because of where they had been previously.
And I'd say in our division right now in the American League West, you could probably say that about the Seattle Mariners. I mean, they're actually making a run right now. They're only 2 games back of the wild card. Now, it's going to be tough because the 3 teams that are in that wild card are the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. But they're right there. They absolutely have a chance. And if they fall short, they'll go in after some pretty bad finishes for a while and being under 500 quite a few times. But you know what? Maybe we're a little bit closer than we realized.
Well, a walk there to Severino, and the Orioles have a couple of men on, and Mathis will head out to the mound to chat with Spores. 2 out in the inning. Well, I think maybe the one thing in this issue or conversation really comes back down to something you mentioned there, CJ, which is the fact that some players don't necessarily feel like they're going to be a part of whatever when it turns around in an organization. And that's different from where it was, let's say, 20, 30 years ago, where when things were turning a corner for a franchise, those guys were invested in it because it was their franchise. It was where they were going to play. It's where they were going to be. Free agency now, you can bolt for a different or better situation, and for that matter, a team can move past you. Right? They can just reshuffle the deck the next year if they don't like what they were seeing in this particular season. So, I mean, that's got to be a big part of the psychology to the 500, no 500 kind of thing. But I think like the Rangers, to Emily's point, like if they're 500 next year, does that signal an improvement? Well, of course. 79 wins next year has you below 500. But it's going to feel like a massive improvement over this season. I just, the 500 level, I guess I just always thought or always felt like, and again, it's probably just more from the fan perspective. You're like, man, boy, I would like to see it. I just don't want to have a losing season. Maybe that's what it is. As a fan, you're just like, this would taste a lot better for the next 4 months if we were, coming off a 500 year or whatever.
I think a lot of people want that, can we get to August to where we're still in this thing? Make it to the 1st of September, to where it's like you feel like you're still watching meaningful baseball in August and September. Yeah. So I think there are different things psychologically as fans that
the tricks we play.
Yes, especially when you're a fan of a rebuilding franchise.
Yeah, but and it is interesting, right? Because people ask a lot. I'm sure you guys get this all the time too. People are like, geez, it's been a rough year. How do you do it? Whatever. It's like, well, I know they're not going to win the World Series this year, but I'm a lot more interested to see, are these couple of young pitchers? How close are they? And what about like Adolis Garcia coming out of the woodwork for this team? This one up the middle, that's a base hit. They're going to send the runner around third, and no throw offered. Orioles pick up pretty big insurance run in the bottom of the 8th. It's now 5-3. But those are the things you hang your hat on as a fan. Give you optimism.
Well, McKenna had struck out 3 times in this game, and Josh Spores was hoping it would be a 4th, but unfortunately his pitch was left up a little bit. Line drive up the middle, and as you mentioned, Dave, an insurance run that puts the Orioles up by 2 comes across after that base hit.
Challenge now in the 9th inning, a little bit steeper for this Rangers team. Frustrating happening with 2 outs, right? The 2-out walk to Severino, and then that 2-out single there to McKenna. Pat Valaika, the hitter now. Valaika 1 for 3. Takes low for a ball. Activity in that Orioles bullpen. In the 9th inning, the Rangers will have the bottom third of the order. Peters, Heim, and Tavares do. And won the count of Baleka. I can't believe that you didn't remember that Tigers team you played on lost 100 games.
I mean, I knew we were terrible.
It's a terrible team.
It was terrible. And I was there. I guess I was actually probably there even the last couple of months. I can't remember when I got called up, but it was bad.
Oh yeah. So it's not like you rode that thing.
No.
Yeah.
I just kind of nail in the coffin helped finish it up.
Just got him over the hump there at the end. Did you come close with any other teams to 100 losses?
I don't think so.
That's good.
But going back to even what Emily was saying, there was one year where we were in it, a couple of games back of the wild card, even as the calendar turned into September, and then September went terrible. And there was conversations about, well, let's at least try to finish above 500. And we won 79 games that year, and I remember thinking over that last week, who cares? At that point, who cares? We're not going to the postseason. And I could care less if we're 500. That was something actually came up in a team meeting about the idea of trying to finish at 500. And that was at that point you're so frustrated because you blew it.
Right.
That whether you win 80 games or 82, whatever.
Yeah, and that it is kind of an interesting perspective. I can see that because it is completely irrelevant. If your goal was to get in, and you didn't get in, whether you won 82 or 78, it's just kind of a random number. Now 2 balls and 2 strikes on Baleka, putting a pretty good at bat here on Josh Sborz. And for Sborz, this has turned into now a 25-pitch inning. It's a swing and a miss. And the throw down to first. That'll complete the strikeout, and the inning is over. That one looked like it might get away in a bad way. Instead, we will go to the 9th inning. Rangers need a base runner and 1 big swing. It's 5-3. All right, so last chance here for the Rangers, trailing 5-3. And it will be the bottom third of the order. Trying to even a series at a win apiece, while the Orioles trying to take the first 2 in this thing. Tyler Wells will be the man on here in the 9th.
You can see the numbers for him. We saw him in last night's ball game closing things out against the Rangers. It took him just 12 pitches to do it. He did allow a hit in that game. 167 against lefties, 200 against righties. You see that low batting average. These splits are pretty solid for him, but actually a little bit better against those left-handed hitters. 4-seam fastball averages 95 miles an hour. There's a slider, changeup, curveball, and 2-seam fastball in there.
Now, he took care of business pretty cleanly last night in the 9th inning for his 4th save. Gave up a 2-out single to Willie Calhoun. And that was it. First pitch to DJ Peters, and that's a pretty good heat right down the heart of the strike zone. DJ had an RBI hit back in the 4th inning. And he hits this ball hard out to left center field. That one will get down and bounce off the wall over the head of Mullins. Peters trying for third, and the relay was completely whiffed. DJ Peters with a triple to open the 9th.
It's not a great park for triples either, but DJ senses it. Right off the bat, spinning breaking ball, did not do very much. Stayed on the inner third of the plate. It smoked, and you see some room in the gap as far as where the outfielders were playing. But one hop, it gets a little bit away from Mullins. But as you mentioned, Dave, then this throw right here. First, you're going to see DJ going around the bases with no hesitation at all. And I don't know if there would have been a play or not, but the lack of a cutoff, the ball just rolled away. So Peters gets there easily.
A little surprised to see him not even hesitating around second. He must have known something as Willie Calhoun will pinch hit. Calhoun had a hit, as I mentioned last night, in the 9th inning. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a visit. I can't tell for sure. Yeah, this might be a visit to check and see if Wells is all right. Brandon Hyde not out there. Well, the manager's making his way out there.
Well, it's weird because it seems like Severino's doing the talking. But it sounds like he might be coming out of this game. You're seeing those taps from teammates. Let's see. Yeah, look at that reaction.
Well, that is not the kind of body language you want to see if you're on the Orioles side. So that is it. He's done. And we'll have an injury pitching change here. So this bullpen will have all the time it needs to get a man ready. 5-3 in the 9th.
Top of the 9th inning, the Orioles are leading the Rangers by 2 right now. Score of 5-3. DJ Peters has had a pretty good night here tonight in Baltimore. Both sides of the ball. He's done a really good job. How about the offense first? You see the base hit up the middle, driving in Nathaniel Lowe for an RBI. And then we saw some of the defense today, stealing a home run here. Going to watch him go up over the wall. And that kid, luckily for him, he had no glove on. I didn't even see the little kid behind him. And then the line drive here that was hit off the bat of Trey Mancini. Nice play there by DJ Peters. And then in last inning, he smoked this baseball into the gap. Some really great base running from DJ Peters. Turns it into a triple. And now the potential tying run will come to the plate. And DJ Peters, while a great night it was, perhaps he can hang those pants in his personal Hall of Fame because they are done. I think Brandon patches those up.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a lot of stitching. It's amazing, actually.
Those really took a beating on that slide. So what do? You get him a new set of drawers, or?
Yeah, I'm sure they have extra pairs of pants with them on the road. I mean, they do. They will sew those up sometimes. They'll patch them up, and that's really big.
But I mean, like right now?
Oh no.
He's just gotta.
He could go change his pants if he wanted. He certainly had time. With Connor Green warming up and taking all the time that he wanted. But here's the thing. This is what makes me a bad teammate. I'd be pulling on that right now, trying to tear it a little bit more.
It looks like it might already be a patch, that he ripped a patch. Does it not look like that to you guys?
That's a good point. Could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you see
some
how
shoddy patchwork.
Well, you see how there's clean on the edge.
Oh,
so it's almost like the patch got ripped out from the pant.
It's very Encyclopedia Brown right there.
I mean, I'm kind of a seamstress.
Are you really?
I don't decorate, but I can sew like
you can?
a mad woman. No, I can't sew.
I was going to say, you should take one of those blankets and turn it into a sweater for Dave.
I can't
That'd
sew.
Be great.
That's hilarious that you even believe that.
Well, you did a good job selling
Thank
it.
you.
I didn't think so. That's why I didn't mention it earlier. I didn't want to put you in a bad spot. But since you brought it up, I was like, well, I'm going to go for it now.
All right, let's look at Connor Green, who, as I understand, isn't a quilting, but he will perform for the 21st time on the mound.
Yeah, 2 of those games came with the Dodgers earlier this season. 18 games now. This will be number 19 with the Baltimore Orioles. So a combined 22 innings on the season. He's only allowed 1 home run. Average fastball velocity 96 miles an hour. He does have a slider, curveball, 2-seamer, and a changeup.
This is off the plate. Ball 1 to Willie Calhoun. So man at third, nobody out, 9th inning in a 2-run game. Safe spot for Green. He's 0 for 3 in saves this year. And Calhoun pops this one up foul, out of play. Green is the 6th reliever used today behind Alexander Wells. Wells went 5 innings. And they are now into their 6th man to try and get these last 4 innings done. No guarantee that he'll be the last. 2-1 pitch to Willie, and that's in the dirt. Ball 3.
Green trying for his first ever big league save. He's got one at the minor league level. Now, he had been a starter predominantly in the minor leagues with the Toronto Blue Jays, also spent time with the Cardinals and the Kansas City Royals in the minor leagues. But just one save back in 2019 in the minor leagues.
This one in the air. Center field. Mullins getting in position underneath it. Peters tags. He heads to the plate. He'll score. The throw just a little bit up the first base line. It's a sacrifice fly for Willie Calhoun. And it's a 1-run game.
You'll take it as much as you like to see another runner on base in this ballpark. We know that it's a great spot to be able to hit home runs. And so the Rangers just one swing away from tying this game up. Go ahead and take a look at DJ Peters tagging up Cedric Mullins. Good timing by DJ, and as you mentioned, that throw a little bit up the first baseline and a little bit up in the air too. It didn't look like there was a lot behind that throw necessarily from Cedric Mullins. Let's take you through the pitch by pitch there for Willie. Did a good job. Fastball at 94 miles an hour, fouled off. One in a similar spot. He lets it go by for a ball. Breaking pitch in the dirt, so he's sitting in a 2-1 count. An opportunity to drive one, and not a bad pitch at all. 96 miles an hour on the corner.
Oh, and good hustle down the line. Leody Taveras reaches. An infield hit. The Rangers have that tying run on.
We know that he can run, and you see Leody Taveras just barely beating this out. See the square there, deadens the ball very nicely off the end of the bat. It was a good attempt by Green. He made it close because that was a pretty good bunt.
That was a really clean grab by Green. So now Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Green will keep an eye on Taveras. 1 out. Tying run on base. Willie's been a great base runner. He's 9 for 9 this year in stolen base attempts. Leody, that is. And Leody 17 for 17 to start his major league career. Going back to the work he did last year. He's not going. And a pitch right down the middle for a strike.
Severino does a pretty good job. He's right around league average as far as the percentage of base stealers that he's thrown out, 25% this year. 9 of 36.
Leody's taken off. The pitch swung on and tapped. Third base side. Picked up by Severino. No play. Everybody's safe. And now the tying run in scoring position. 2 hits. They go a combined, I don't know, 40 feet.
If that, and it worked out well that Taveras was on the move here because it looks like almost back-to-back bunts, but he didn't take a turn. Severino thought about throwing this ball to second base, or at least looked that way, but Taveras was sliding into second as this play was happening.
So the tying and now go-ahead runs are on in the 9th. Green, as I mentioned, 0 for 3 in save spots this year. So he's had a little trouble in these situations. Now a quick visit. Severino, he's asking everybody to come in.
So interesting here. This probably has a little bit more to do with potential defense, whether it's, keep an eye on the steal with a guy like Taveras, although it's certainly risky being the potential tying run, and you would love for him to get the third because the sac fly comes into play. The other part of it is you feel like he'll score on just about any base hit.
So Leote at second. Kiner Falefa at first base. The pitch to Ibanez. And it's in the dirt.
That's something else to keep an eye on too with Severino back there, and a guy that's been around for a while. He does have 10 pass balls this season. Pretty high number for Severino. That ties him for the most in Major League Baseball.
"1-0. Fastball misses. Ball 2. Ibanez so far tonight hitless. He's 0 for 4, and that's an unusual situation for him. Ibanez has actually been swinging a really hot bat up until the last couple of days. He was 0 for 3 yesterday with a walk.
How about all that room on the right side between the second baseman, because Rulek is keeping Taveras close. He's the guy in charge of it right now. And you have your first baseman who's not holding the runner on at first, and he wouldn't in this situation. But it does give you some space on there for on the right side for a potential ground ball to get through.
If that happens, it should tie the game, especially with Leote's speed. The 2-0 way off the plate. 3 balls and no strikes.
You always wonder too, we didn't really talk about it, with Green coming in and basically everyone waiting on him to get ready, if he rushed himself a little bit. And now with the pressure ratcheted up, he's looking pretty uncomfortable.
Long hold, the 3-0. And that's ball 4. They are loaded up.
That's a good no call, right? We see those kind of borderline pitches sometimes get called in a 3-0 count. That pitch was not a strike. I was worried a little bit there that Ibanez was going to have that one go against him. I mean, how many times have we seen this? I mean, it's a ball, but only by an inch or two. And a lot of times 3-0, those borderline pitches do get called strikes.
Green looks like he's in a near panic out there. Just dropped the baseball. It's all happening a little fast for him.
That's exactly what your manager wants to see in a big spot. Bases loaded, 1 out, tying run at third, and your reliever drops the baseball. And he looks like he's doing a lot of talking, and it looks like it's going really fast.
Yeah. Eric Honhold, right-hander, loosening up out there in the bullpen. So they're getting prepared should they need somebody else to come in here.
No, he's telling the umpire. You think maybe wind up stretch situation potentially? He's saying something to the umpire. You usually don't talk with the umpire much in a spot like this. If he does have a windup or one of those modified windups that look like the stretch, it is something you want to declare. You need to declare with the umpire to let him know.
Adolis Garcia. He takes low, ball 1. Bases loaded. And they have the guy up at the plate right now in the Rangers. The only Ranger who's hit a grand slam this year. Down by a run in the 9th. 1-1.
A good example there, what we're talking about with some of these huge at-bats with runners in scoring position and having a game plan. Right, Woody was talking about that yesterday in chasing a breaking ball out of the strike zone in a 1-0 count. When you have a pitcher who's struggling with command and just walk somebody on 4 pitches would be a good example of just getting a little bit over anxious and not being able to stick with the plan.
2-1. Always a couple of hits in tonight's game. Just 3 hits total in the previous 8 games combined.
Make him groove you one right here. It's a huge spot. You don't want to see him expand the zone.
Wow, good pitch.
That's
2-2.
That's a really good pitch. 98 with movement on the corner. Well, he's obviously confident throwing that breaking ball. Oh, excuse me, that fastball. That's really good. The question becomes, will he try to expand now with the slider that we have seen Garcia chase? We know that Adolis has some issues with fastballs that are up in the zone. As he tried to go right back to 98 again.
This ball ripped down the left field line. That's a fair ball and into the corner. The game is tied. The Rangers take the lead. 2-run score on the double by Garcia, and it's 6-5 in the 9th inning.
Adolis Garcia having a good time after that double. We're wondering what happens next after 98 on the corner. And Connor Green decides to go with a breaking ball. He left it right in the middle of the plate. He didn't want to go to a 3-2 count. Garcia was ready for it, laces it down the left field line, an easy double, 2 easy RBIs, and a very nice comeback here in the 9th for the Rangers against the Orioles.
Those 2 runners scoring give him 85 RBIs now, 1 more than Mark Teixeira had in 2003. So it's the 2nd most ever by a Rangers rookie, trailing only Pete Incaviglia. Another blown save for Green, and deeper still into this Orioles pen tonight.
The Rangers on top now in the top of the 9th inning, 6-5. Couple of runners on, and the way they got there was a really good at bat from Adolis Garcia. He lays off the curveball to start the at bat. Then he chases this slider outside of the strike zone. Probably not what he wanted to do. This slider here misses, and then he gets a really good looking fastball. 98 on the corner. He takes it, and in a 2-2 count, back to the slider for Green. He left it right in the middle of the plate. Adolis Garcia hits that hard line drive down the left field line. Couple of runs scored, which means 2 more RBIs for Adolis Garcia. Obviously, that also gave the Rangers the lead, so it was a big hit all the way around. And now here comes Adolis Garcia marching his way toward Rangers history. He needs just 3 more RBIs to tie Pete Incaviglia, who in 1986 set that rookie RBI record for the Rangers. Of course, he needs 1 more home run to stand alone as well on top of that list among Rangers rookies.
Well, the Rangers with the lead, 6-5 now in the 9th inning, and Nathaniel Lowe, he's had a good night at the plate. Takes ball 1 from Eric Hanhold, and he swings at strike 1.
Hanhold pitched 3 games for the New York Mets back in 2018. Now he's back in the big leagues with the Baltimore Orioles. 7th game of the season for him. A guy who's averaging 95 with the fastball. He's got a slider and a changeup, and every once in a while a 2-seam fastball as well.
Goes 2-1 now on Lowe. 3 runs have scored in the 9th inning to put the Rangers in front. Ball 3. So he's in danger of loading the bases, just as Connor Green had done. Hanhold's his 7th Orioles reliever tonight. And now they'll just intentionally walk Lowe. So he goes to first. Since I'm bothering with another miss. And Nick Solak will get a chance with the bases loaded.
We know Solak will hit a lot of ground balls. We've talked about that. And so perhaps for Brandon Hyde thinking he can get that ground ball double play, not wanting his pitcher to continue to pitch to Nathaniel Lowe behind in the count. He has had some walk issues. 5.5 walk rate for Hanhold when he was in the minor leagues this year, AAA with the Baltimore Orioles.
Fastball, he gets a generous call right there. Chris Conroy. High strike called. There are the runners. Rangers everywhere. Nice. 1-1. Rangers had the lead back in the 1st inning. Scored a couple of runs on Lowe's 2-run homer. Gave it up in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Did not regain the lead again until just moments ago. There's a swing and a miss. It's 1-2 on Solak.
Hanhold must have been a teammate of Dane Dunning out of the University of Florida. He got drafted in 2015. Dunning in 2016. Pretty nasty breaking ball.
At the 1-2. And that one up the middle. That could be 2. One out there. The throw to first, not in time. Rangers out a run. Ibanez comes in from third on the fielder's choice. And it's 7-5.
That's a big one to give the Rangers just a little bit more breathing room in the bottom of the 9th inning. They got the ground ball that they were looking for, but just kind of slow developing there at second. And Nick Solak has always done a great job getting down the line quickly, so he easily beats this one out.
Oh, 4-run 9th inning.
Richie Martin was also on that team. He was a University of Florida draftee in 2015. They're all over the field tonight.
Up to our Waston Alligators or Gators. A.J. Puck, would he have been there at that time?
Yep,
too?
2016. Actually, from 15 to 16, that Dane Dunning group. Pete Alonso was drafted out of the University of Florida in 16. Harrison Bader.
They're going from first. The throw to second is cut off. The throw back to the plate. In time, Rangers tried the double steal, but Garcia gunned down at the plate to end the inning. The Rangers are taking a quick look upstairs. Adam Brenner looking at to see if it's worth challenging. Garcia indicating that he thought he was safe. Let's see.
Oh, look at that. Woody already letting him know he was safe.
They will challenge.
Let's take a look. Oh, yeah.
Very safe. Adolis is going to get his 13th stolen base of the year.
Tell you what, and he did not take a huge lead off the third, even after we saw the steal attempt by Solak, and for him to get there just kind of shows you the speed. He did not indicate at all that he might be going, and he's in there easily.
So that should make it 8-5. We'll see. Wait to get the official ruling from New York. A steal of home by Adolis Garcia. It's if indeed this is overturned. That's got to be. It's going to be a 5-run 9th inning. Here we go. Yep, he was safe. So a steal of home. 5 runs across in the inning. Rangers on top 8-5. Solak gets the steal of second. It's his 7th stolen base of the year. Third time this year the Rangers have pulled off that stunt of stealing home. You begin to understand why the Orioles have lost 104 games this year. That's a pretty brutal 9th inning.
Well, they lose their closer after he throws a pitch and gives up a triple to DJ Peters. And then having to rush to get relievers in the game, and it just has not gone well at all. It's been pretty sloppy.
One ball, one strike on Holt. He's a 9th hitter of the inning. And strike 2. Bottom of the 9th inning, it'll be the 8 and 9 hole hitters before getting back up for Cedric Mullins. It's tied 2-2. Handhold at the belt again, and a swing and a ground ball. It stays 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tomorrow, same 2 teams, another 6 o'clock start. And then the 2 teams will wrap up the series Sunday at noon Central Time. Holt swings over the top of strike 3. That will end the inning, but the Rangers played 5 runs. And now, bottom of the 9th inning necessary. The Rangers leading it 8-5. It has been a wild one tonight. 5 runs at the top of the 9th. The Rangers lead 8-5. And now in the last of the 9th inning, Joe Barlow is on to try and finish this one off. Jose Trevino will be his catcher.
Game number 28 for Joe Barlow, 25 2/3 innings, giving up a couple of home runs this season. He's done a good job, though, in these spots. He's 7 for 8 in save opportunities, does have 3 holds as well. 4-seam fastball averaging 95, slider, curveball. Also been some pretty good pitches for Barlow this year. The slider, just an .081 batting average against. We also saw him in last night's ball game against the Baltimore Orioles, a game in which the Rangers lost 3-0. He was just getting some work in. He gave up a run on a home run. That was the only hit and run that he allowed in that game.
As I mentioned, Jose Trevino in the game to do the catching. So brand new battery. Rangers with a 3-run lead. Looking for their first win on this road trip. A road trip that started in New York. They were swept by the Yankees in 3. Lost the opener here 3-0. So Barlow ready to go here against Richie Martin.
The other thing about that rally for the Rangers in the 9th inning is it started 7-8-9. With a closer in with a 2-run lead, it can be a little bit discouraging when you're at the bottom of the order. Orioles kind of dealing with that as well. 8-9-1, down by 3.
Well, getting that first guy is a big key. In the case of the Rangers, they got the triple from DJ Peters. Martin in a whole 0-1. Make it 0-2. It's been a long, frustrating year in Baltimore. Just shy of 8,000 fans on hand tonight. I'm not sure how many have stuck it out all the way to the end. Just a little wide, 1-2. I could see a lot of fans maybe sneak it out just a tad early, thinking like, oh, we got this one under control. We're gonna get home.
Maybe if it's your first Orioles game this year.
Yeah. Turn on the TV and say, wait a minute, what happened? There's the 1-2. Just missed. Martin has scored one of the Orioles' 5 runs tonight. He reached on a fielder's choice in the 2nd. In fact, drove in a run with that fielder's choice in the 2nd inning. And then later scored. 2-2. Over to the right side out of play.
Probably won't surprise you, but if the Rangers hold on, this will be the 52nd time that the Orioles will record a blown lead loss. That's the most in Major League Baseball by a pretty wide margin. The Twins have 46 of those this year. They're 2nd.
This one hit sharply on the ground. Sliding stop. Solak hops up and he gets that throw to first in time. Martin retired, 1 away.
Very nice play by Nick Solak. You were just talking about the comeback for the Rangers in the 9th and leading things off with a triple. This very easily could have been a base hit, but a nice diving play by Nick Solak and a really strong throw over to first to retire Martin. When you're the closer, it is always, any reliever for that matter, but always really nice to get that first out. late in the game.
That's a big lift. Now, Gutierrez. And a breaking ball right in there for a strike. You know, you're talking about those blown lead losses. I had forgotten. I'm just kind of going back looking at some things this year for the Orioles. You know, it's been a tough year. At one point at the beginning of August, in fact it was August 2nd, they found their record to be 38-67. So 29 games under 500. They would then lose 19 straight. Yikes. There's a swing and a miss. Gutierrez strikes out, 2 away.
The other part of that play too here, as we're going to take a look at the breaking ball from Joe Barlow. Strikeout Joe does it again. Gutierrez not even close to that breaking pitch. When you set up an inning like this, now you have a couple of run leads, so it helps a little bit to be up by 3. But you know you're facing Cedric Mullins. The question becomes anybody that gets on in front of him. That means that there's a decent chance, and you're going to have to face Ryan Mountcastle. We've talked about the top of this lineup and how strong it is in Baltimore, despite the fact that it's been a really bad season for them. You just want to avoid as much of that top of the lineup and then potentially the middle of the order as possible. So the first 2 outs pretty big here in the 9th for Barlow.
Dangerous hitter here, but he can't do, you know, game-ending type of damage. He takes ball 2. That's sad. You just do not want to crack the door open for these guys. The Orioles really the top of the order. They're first 4 hitters in the lineup. Pretty good 4 hitters. Bottom half of the lineup's not real good, but they can compete with those top 4. 3 balls and no strikes. Barlow in danger of putting Mullins on for free. .3-0. That's ball 4, so he did. Missed on 4 straight to Mullins with 2 out in the 9th.
Kind of surprising from Joe Barlow to see that. And when Chris Woodward, no doubt, wants to see him attack Cedric Mullins right there. Even if he hits a home run, so be it. Obviously, it's not what you want, but you go right at him, you make him beat you. You don't want any of that momentum going in the other direction. And starting to get tentative right now. Joe's done a good job with his walks this year. Very respectable. 3.8 per 9. A little bit on the high side, but not that bad. League average is about 3.3.
All right, Mountcastle. He takes strike 1. Mountcastle's had a couple of hits tonight. And his 31 home runs, most among Major League rookies. That one's in the air over to the right side, out of play. Garcia, last inning with that big 2-run double, moved 1 past Mountcastle with his 85 RBIs to retake the rookie lead in runs batted in. .02 in the dirt. Orioles down to their final strike tonight. Howard went 4 innings. Drew Anderson 3 shutout. Spores gave up a run in the 8th. Now Barlow trying to save it. 1-2. And that's on the ground foul. Do it again. Sounds like they're chanting, "Let's go, Joe." I think they're a huge fan of Joe Barlow in Baltimore. Who knew?
I mean, there's nothing in the name of Ryan Mountcastle that sounds like that. Now, maybe the team he plays for.
Possible, but I think it's Joe. Here's the 1-2, and that's outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I'd play that trick on myself sometimes when they get loud in the stadium when you're on the road. Just tell myself they're cheering for me.
They love me here. Barlow does an amazing job of controlling his heart rate when he's out there. He just looks so relaxed. Two-two pitch. And you get Mountcastle to go. They appeal. No.
You know, and it could be, I didn't think about this, could be some Orioles fans chanting, "Let's go home."
He wasn't close on that one. With the appeal, though. Rangers scored 5 in the top of the 9th. And amazingly now find themselves with a chance to win this game. Nobody holding Mullins at first. He'll be off with a pitch. There he goes, a 3-2 pitch in the air, and that should do it. Taveras closing in on Garcia. It's Garcia who takes care of it, and this one is over. The Rangers win it 8-5.
Nice win for the ball club. We know there's been some struggles really all year long, but especially on the road, coming off a tough schedule, tough loss yesterday, and a big comeback win. It would have been tough to swallow another loss here in Baltimore. Nice job all the way around. The defense was on point once again, especially in the outfield.
Yeah, that might be the highlight of the game, that defense. For C.J. Nitkowski and Emily Jones, I'm Dave Raymond. Great to have you with us tonight. Stay tuned. Still plenty more coming up on the postgame right after this.